Chapter 394. Puff. Meowze couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood, staining his clothes red. He looked at Xia Ping in disbelief. Impossible, I Meowze have lost. I was actually defeated by a single punch and couldn't even fight back. How could such a ridiculous thing happen? Illusion. This is definitely an illusion. He couldn't believe this had happened at all. One had to know that he had now advanced to the martial master realm, and his strength was more than 10 times stronger than before. His opponent was at most in the 8th heaven of the martial master realm. But now, he was a martial arts expert at the master realm. According to this comparison of strength, it should be Meowze who easily killed Xia Ping. But why was it the other way around? Nothing is impossible. Xia Ping looked at Meowze indifferently. Do you think you can show off in front of me and take revenge after advancing to the martial master realm? You overestimate yourself. Outside, you were punched like a dead dog by me. In the cloud mist mountains, it's the same. Meowze, you only have this kind of strength. These words heavily bombarded Meowze's heart, causing him to go crazy and stab at his heart. Meowze went crazy and shouted, "Damn bastard! I, Meowze, am a member of a royal family. I was born with a noble bloodline. How can a lowly commoner like you compare to me? How dare you say that I, Meowze, am overestimating myself and calling me trash? How dare you? How dare you?" With a bang, he struggled out of the mountain wall and rushed towards Xia Ping. His whole body was like a poisonous snake. His body was bent like a spring, and he burst out crazily. In just a breath's time, he flew hundreds of meters and arrived in front of Xia Ping. Xia Ping didn't even look at him. He instantly attacked and hit the air in the air. Immediately, the air within a radius of 100 meters trembled. There was a faint roar of a beast that shook the forest. Dong! This palm ruthlessly slammed into Meowze's body, instantly smashing him into the ground, creating a huge human-shaped crater. He lay on the ground like a tortoise, with dozens of bones in his body broken. Smoke and dust billowed. No, impossible. Meowze's eyes widened as he struggled to get out. However, his body was being stepped on by Xia Ping's large foot. No matter how hard he struggled, he couldn't get out of the deep pit. At this moment, his heart had completely collapsed. It was fine when he was outside the cloud mist mountain range. However, after entering the cloud mist mountain range and advancing to the martial master realm, he was completely unable to do so. According to common sense, he was many times stronger than Xia Ping. But now, he was easily defeated by Xia Ping. Such a humiliating result was unacceptable to him. Have you thought about how you want to die? Xia Ping looked down at Meowze coldly. Meowze's eyes instantly widened, and his whole body trembled. Ow! What are you trying to do? Don't you know who I, Meowze, am? If you dare to kill me, you won't be able to escape. You will die a horrible death, and no one can save you. His heart was filled with endless fear. Previously, he had killed countless people, slaughtering anyone he did not like. Relying on his status as a sovereign clan, he had been unbridled, thinking that he was born to be superior. But at this moment, he also felt the fear of death. His life and death were in the hands of the other party. Stop, Xia Ping. Do you know what you're doing? One of the students shouted angrily. That's Meowze, the heir of the Meow clan, a noble child from Sovereign Clan. Have you thought about the consequences of killing him? Do you know how to write the word death? Meowze's status is many times higher than a peasant from planet Yanwang like you. Is he someone you can touch? Get out of here. If you dare to kill him, you will die too. The entire Cloud Realm will not tolerate you. Do you know that? 6 or 7 students shouted angrily, staring at Xia Ping and threatening him. Bang! Xia Ping slapped the top of Meowze's head with a backhand. A terrifying power erupted, and with a crack, Meowze's head was smashed into pieces like a watermelon. Meowze did not even have the chance to let out a groan. He died tragically on the spot. Not even the gods could save him. Don't dare to kill him? Who do you think Meowze is? If he says he doesn't dare to kill me, then he won't. If he dares to provoke me, even the gods can't save him. I, Xia Ping, have no taboo when it comes to killing. Xia Ping looked at the group of students indifferently. His eyes revealed a deep murderous intent. Do you think you can run amok just because you are from a sovereign family? Do you think you can threaten me and make me fear you? Now that I have killed him, what can you do to me? He did not even look at the dead Miaoze. It was as if he was stepping on an ant. Damn it, damn it. He actually dared to kill Miaoze. How dare he? This peasant from planet Yinhuang really has guts. A student shouted angrily. His eyes widened. He never thought that Xia Ping would really dare to kill someone. He killed someone without any taboo and even killed Miaoze. He could not imagine how terrible the anger would be if the Miao family knew about this. Perhaps the entire Cloud Realm would be shaken, and many people would be implicated. Kill him, kill this bitch, and avenge Miaoze. He's dead. This damn bastard is dead. After killing Miaoze, no one in the world can save him. He even killed the people of Ares College. If we don't kill him, it will be intolerable. 6 or 7 students were extremely angry. They watched Miaoze die, slapped to death by Xia Ping, and even his head was smashed into a watermelon. One could imagine the anger in their hearts now. They could not wait to tear Xia Ping's body into pieces. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In an instant, 7 martial masters at the first heaven of the martial master realm attacked at the same time. The genuine essence in the air vibrated, and 7 big hands grabbed fiercely, trying to pinch Xia Ping to death like a mosquito. Dark North Body Protection Skill. Xia Ping stood in place, his hands turned into circles, forming the symbol of Tai Chi, a transparent genuine essence barrier blocked in front of his body, like flowing water. Bang, bang, bang. 7 genuine essence, big hands grabbed fiercely and collided with his body protection skill. Immediately, a loud sound broke out, and the transparent barrier shook and collided thousands of times. However, the opponent's attack could not break through this barrier, and in the end, this force was fiercely bounced back. Aha! Immediately, the 7 students immediately let out a shrill scream. Their bodies were injured by this force, and their whole bodies flew out for hundreds of meters and finally hit the ground hard. Each of them could not help but spit out a lot of blood and fell to the ground twitching. The severe pain spread around, which was several times more painful than a girl giving birth. Chapter 395. Damn it! How can this guy be so powerful? We're no match for him at all. If we stay here any longer, we'll die. Run. Hurry up and run. When we leave, we'll find someone to take revenge on. If the news that he killed Miaoze gets out and the Miao family finds out, he'll definitely die a horrible death. The 7 students struggled to get up from the ground. They immediately knew that they were no match for Xia Ping. If they stayed where they were, they would probably be killed in a few breaths. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. They looked at each other and quickly left in 7 different directions. As long as one of them could leave alive and send a message, Xia Ping would be dead for sure. These people were all determined to take revenge this time. They could not let Xia Ping go. You can't run. Xia Ping stared at the 7 students with a cold light in his eyes, revealing a terrifying killing intent. He knew that he could not let these students leave alive. Otherwise, it would definitely cause great trouble. He clapped his hand, and with a bang, a huge rock on the ground split into countless pieces. Then he grabbed them with his big hand and threw them at the students. Supreme Hidden Weapon Cultivation Method. Head piercing 7 arrows. Immediately, a tyrannical true essence wrapped around these stones. His spiritual will seemed to be integrated into the stones at this moment, and there was an incredible change. If Xia Ping had used the head-piercing 7 arrows before, these hidden weapons were like bullets. They were extremely fast, bombarding the enemy with lightning speed. But now, these hidden weapons seemed to be integrated with spiritual power. It was as if they were equipped with intelligent tracking systems. They could be controlled by Xia Ping at will, as if they were his fingers. The power of this explosion was simply incomparable to before. It was more than several times more tyrannical. Hide! A student shouted desperately. He felt a fatal danger coming from his body. The other students also sensed the danger. Some of them slithered like pythons, some danced like butterflies, and some swayed with the wind like willow leaves. Everyone used their most exquisite footwork to try to avoid this hidden weapon. But it was too late. These hidden weapons were like tracking missiles. They captured the aura of these students. No matter how they dodged, they could not avoid this attack. Moreover, they weren't able to escape too far. In a few breaths, they were only able to escape more than 100 meters. However, the speed of these hidden weapons exceeded the speed of sound. With such a short distance and such a fast speed, how could they possibly dodge it? Shio, shio, shio. In an instant, the stones arrived before the students. With a poochie sound, a stone tore through the air, carrying with it the power of Zhen Yuan. It easily pierced through the throat of a student, and a massive amount of blood flowed out, dyeing the ground red. His body fell to the ground, and his eyes were wide open with a look of disbelief. He couldn't believe that he had been killed from over 100 meters away. He couldn't even escape. 2 more pieces flew from the back, and with a bang, they instantly pierced through the hearts of the 2 students. Their bodies were blasted away, and they smashed into a mountain wall in the distance. 2 human-shaped pits appeared, smoke and dust billowed, and crushed rocks flew in all directions. The remaining 4 stones smashed the heads of the remaining students. They stood where they were, unable to move a single step forward. Their heads exploded like watermelons. One by one, they fell to the ground, turning into headless corpses. They died horribly. They're all dead. Xiaoping stepped forward and confirmed the condition of the students' deaths. He only relaxed after confirming that they were all dead. After all, if he allowed a student to escape and report back, it would definitely cause great trouble. At the same time, he felt a little emotional. After comprehending the power of Zhen Yuan, the head-piercing 7 arrows seemed to have become even more powerful. It vaguely possessed the supreme power to kill enemies from a distance. He wondered what kind of power it would have if he exchanged for the 3rd level of the head-piercing 7 arrows. Looks like I definitely can't show my true appearance in the Cloud Mountain range. Otherwise, I'll be restricted in everything I do. I should change my appearance. Xiaoping's eyes flickered. Through this incident, he knew that if he continued to act with his current appearance, it would definitely be very inconvenient. If he killed a few successors of the King clans, he would definitely incur the wrath of the King realm powerhouses. The consequences would be unimaginable. Right now, he didn't have the ability to deal with powerhouses of this level yet. If he changed his appearance, even if he killed those students, no one would know that it was Xiaoping who did it. Then, even if the King clans wanted to find someone to take revenge on, they wouldn't know who to look for. System: exchange for human skin mask. Thinking of this, Xiaoping immediately ordered the system to exchange for items. The system replied, "Yes, host." With a clap, a human skin mask appeared in his hand. It was as thin as a cicada's wing. When he put on his face, he immediately changed his original appearance and became a completely different person. Even the aura on his body had changed. It was estimated that even if his parents stood in front of him, they wouldn't be able to recognize him as Xiaoping. Such an effect was by no means comparable to that of an ordinary human skin mask. It could be said to be ingenious and exquisite. As expected of a human skin mask produced by the system, it's worth 1,000 hatred points. After wearing the human skin mask, not only did my appearance change, but even my aura changed. This way, no one will be able to recognize me. Xiaoping clenched his fists. Next, he also exchanged for some corpse-dissolving water and completely melted the bodies of Miao Zhe and the others. This way, even the gods wouldn't know who killed them. Even if those from the King clans knew that their disciples had died in the Cloud Mountain range, they couldn't come in to investigate because of the limitations of their strength. It could be said that these people had died in vain. TSK, I didn't expect these people to have gained a lot. Xiaoping also obtained 5 or 6 spiritual herbs from these people. These spiritual herbs were all grown in the Cloud Mountain range and were very valuable. A stock of such a century-old spiritual herb was worth no less than a profounding pill. In addition, he also found more than a dozen dragon and tiger rui pills from Miao Zhe and the others, as well as some healing pills. These were all prepared for the exploration of the Cloud Mountain range, and now they belonged to him. After dealing with these matters for half an hour, Xiaoping felt that there were no mistakes and left the place. It won't be long before I head to the center of the Cloud Mountain Range. I must find the water of life inside. Xiaoping had always remembered his true purpose of coming to the Cloud Mountain Range this time. Chapter 396. Swoosh. Xiaoping used the Kuan Peng steps as he sprinted. He was like a large bird, his speed as fast as lightning. Along the way, he passed by mountains, rivers, valleys, swamps, and other places. He ran for 2 to 3 days, covering thousands of kilometers, and finally arrived at the center of the Cloud Mountain Range. This is the center. Xiaoping arrived at the center of the mountain range and immediately sensed that the center was surrounded by a mysterious power. An extremely evil demonic qi leaked out from the depths of the core, causing one's heart to palpitate. It was surrounded by a thin layer of energy barrier, like an eggshell, making it impossible to see what was inside. It was extremely mysterious. Haha, after several days, we finally arrived at the center. This is the center of the Cloud Mountain Range, the place that contains the water of life. I feel that this is the source of the evil qi. It seems to be suppressing countless evil demons. It's indeed mysterious. Let's not delay and go in to take a look. Don't let others beat us to it. At this moment, other than Xiaoping, some other students also arrived at the center at the same time. There were at least 20 to 30 of them. They looked at the energy barrier in front of them excitedly, eager to give it a try. Swoosh! Xiaoping didn't say anything and immediately walked in. Immediately, he felt that the space around him was many times wider. In front of him was an endless chain of huge mountains. Each of the mountains was at least tens of thousands of meters tall. They towered into the clouds and looked incomparably majestic. He knew that this was a strange phenomenon caused by spatial folding. The area here was many times larger than the outside world. It was like a small world. Moreover, the auras of these mountains were connected to each other, as if they were one. There was a vast power hidden in the air, like the power of heaven and earth, suppressing this area, making it impossible for any demons to leave. Spectacular? It's really too spectacular. I didn't expect the space here to be so huge. It's more than 10 times larger than the outside world. It said that there are a total of 18,000 mountain peaks here. Every single mountain peak was moved here from another place by an ancient almighty being. They were placed at the core of this region, forming an unparalleled formation that suppresses evil spirits. Array? What's an array? You don't even know this? Array formations are a method that borrows the power of heaven and earth. You must know that all the energy in the world has its own unique meridians, and array grandmasters can see through these energy meridians and set up an array formation that resonates with the energy of heaven and earth, changing the energy meridians and displaying all kinds of unimaginable effects. Some magic arrays can increase the purity of energy and turn an area into a cultivation paradise. Some magic arrays can condense malevolent energy and refine weapons into treasured weapons. Some magic arrays can form a maze to trap enemies. Some magic arrays can attack enemies and burst out with world-destroying energy. A single wave can destroy a country. There are so many of them. Indeed, I have also heard of the profession of array master. However, this profession has a very high requirement for talent. Those without talent can't even enter the door. Everyone discussed animatedly. They were all shocked by the mighty power of the heavens and earth. 18,000 huge mountains were moved over and suppressed the energy channels of this region. What kind of power was this? It was simply earth-shattering. Even though the current technology had reached a level that was unimaginable to humans 1,000 years ago, it was still very difficult to achieve this. It was hard to imagine how powerful the human experts in ancient times were. Xiaoping also sensed that the array here was extremely mysterious and could not be moved recklessly. It contained a terrifying energy and was not something mortals could touch. Touching it would mean certain death. The problem is, where is the water of life? That's all I care about, someone asked. Many people nodded. Things like arrays were too far away from them. They still hoped to find the water of life. This was their true purpose for coming to the Cloud Mountain Range. It's among these 18,000 mountains. Its core altar is in one of the huge mountains. The problem is that the positions of these mountains are not fixed. They will change every once in a while, so there's no way to find them. Even if people came here before, they could not provide any useful information. We can only search slowly, someone said in a deep voice. Suddenly, someone exclaimed, "You must be joking. There are a total of 18,000 mountains here. If we search slowly, how long will it take?" The Cloud Mountain Range would have closed long ago. The other students were also dumbfounded. To explore the 18,000 mountains, even a year might not be enough. In just a month, they might not even be able to get close to the central altar. Moreover, I heard that each mountain actually contains a unique space with a large number of fiendish demons living in it. Once you enter, it will be very dangerous. If you're not careful, you might even die in there, a student said with a serious expression. It did not mean that there was no danger in exploring the mountains. Each mountain was equivalent to an alternate space with a large number of fiendish demons being suppressed inside. If you entered, you would definitely face the danger of dying. There is no other way. This is why it is so difficult to find the water of life. You can only obtain it by luck. Someone spread his hands, indicating that if it was not difficult to obtain the water of life, it would not be called a fortuitous encounter. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Suddenly, a terrifying aura came from afar. Immediately, a dozen or so Martial Master Realm students ran over and appeared in front of everyone. What? Immediately, the surrounding students became vigilant and could not help but take a few steps back. These people in front of them were all martial masters, but they were all at the 9th heaven of the martial warrior realm and had not broken through to the martial master realm. Their strength was far inferior. Although many students deliberately stopped at the 9th heaven of the martial warrior realm and did not break through, there were also some students who were stuck in this realm and could not break through. Even if they entered the Cloud Mountain Range, they could not immediately become martial masters. There were many martial artists like this. At least 20 to 30 students who came with Xiaoping were like this. "Hello, everyone." The leader of this group of people, a man in green, said. He cupped his hands and said, "It is your blessing to meet us. Do you want to join us to search for the water of life? After all, there is strength in numbers. If we can find it, we can share the water of life equally and improve together. It is also a happy thing. What do you think?" He extended an invitation to Xiaoping and the others. Hearing this, many students were tempted. After all, if they could act together with martial masters, not only would it be more efficient to search the mountains, but it would also be safer. Chapter 397. Xiaoping was not the only one. Some of the students did not believe that these martial masters would be so kind as to join hands with them for no reason and share the benefits with them. After all, who would be willing to share the benefits if they could take it all for themselves? Did they really think that others were fools? There's no need for that, seniors. That's right. It's better for us to do this ourselves. People in a martial realm like us will only be a burden if we stay with you. That's right. We shouldn't hold you up. If there's nothing else, we'll take our leave first. Some students wanted to leave immediately and bid farewell to the man in green and the others. "Wait," the man in green shouted. A cold light flashed in his eyes as he stared at the students who wanted to leave. "Why are you leaving so quickly? Don't you trust me?" A terrifying chill surged out of his body and enveloped the group of students who wanted to leave. "This is too presumptuous." A companion of the man in green also shouted angrily. "We martial masters are here to invite you to work together and obtain the water of life together. This is your honor. It's fine if you don't agree, but you actually dare to doubt us. This behavior is an insult to our character. If you don't explain clearly, don't even think of leaving." He took the opportunity to flip out and stared at the students who wanted to leave. "Senior, we didn't mean it like that." The group of students could feel the terrifying pressure from the man in green and the others. It was the aura of a martial master that could crush them. They could not match up to it all. If these people exploded, they would most likely be in trouble today. "If that's not what we meant, then what do you mean?" The man in green stared at the group of people and sneered. We are all martial masters. Our status is many times higher than yours. Now, we are taking the initiative to invite you to explore together and agree to share the water of life with you. Our conditions are so good. Yet, all of you are making excuses. You don't know how to appreciate favors. Tell me, is this behavior right? Isn't it very disrespectful? Hearing this, the expressions of many students changed. These were harsh words. Normally, they would not refuse such an invitation. This was a benefit that was delivered to their doorstep. However, the other party was too powerful, and they were in a dangerous place like the Cloud Mist Mountain Range. They were naturally worried that the other party might be plotting something. This was human nature. All right, there's no need to say anything else. If you don't refute, I'll take it as you've agreed. Let's explore this mountain together and happily obtain the water of life. Isn't that a joyous thing? If anyone dares to refuse, then that's not giving us face, and that's equivalent to slapping us in the face. If you provoke us like this, then don't blame us for being impolite. Of course, if you agree to join us, then we will all be one family. If we find the life water, then everyone will have a share. You will all be able to advance to the Martial Master Realm, or even the Grandmaster Realm. In the future, you will be able to stand out. The green-robed man stared at these students. His methods were both hard and soft. He gave a slap and a carrot, constantly dispelling the students' wariness and relaxing their hearts. It had to be said that his methods were very brilliant. If this continued, he would be able to completely subdue this group of students. Senior, I won't be participating in this matter. I personally prefer to act alone. At this moment, Xiaoping stood up and said to the group of people, What? Hearing these words, the surrounding students were shocked. At this time, there was actually someone who dared to stand up and fight for his life. Was he tired of living? Kid, did you eat a bear's heart and a leopard's heart? We've said so much, but you still don't know how to appreciate favors. You don't give us face and still want to act alone. Do you want to die? One of the companions next to the green-robed man was so angry that his face turned red. He simply wanted to tear Xiaoping into pieces. They used all kinds of means to subdue this group of students as their underlings and cannon fodder. Seeing that they were about to succeed, this kid actually dared to stand up, stir up trouble, be a thorn, and ruin their plan. One could imagine how angry they were now. They even had the thought of killing Xiaoping. Don't think that I don't know what you're thinking. Xiaoping was calm and composed. He stood with his hands behind his back. One by one, the experts of the Martial Master Realm came here and wanted to invite us to be their companions. After finding the water of life, they even wanted to share it with us. Do you really think we're stupid? I've never heard of an elephant looking for ants as companions. Many of the students nodded. They were also suspicious of this point. One of these martial masters could beat 10 of them. Why did they choose to be companions and even split the life potion? Wasn't this pushing the benefits to others? If I'm not wrong, you want to use us as cannon fodder. Xiaoping stared at this group of people and said indifferently, It's said that among the 18,000 mountain peaks, there are a large number of fiendish demons living in each peak. It's very dangerous. Some of the mountain peaks have a harsh environment and dense demonic aura. If you enter carelessly, you'll definitely die without a burial place. Even the experts of the Martial Master Realm won't be able to escape. I guess you're also worried that if you enter a dangerous mountain peak, you might encounter a terrifying threat. When that time comes, before you find the water of life, you'll lose your life. Therefore, you need some cannon fodder to scout for you and find a safe place. That way, it'll be foolproof. It can be said that if we follow you, not only will there be no hope of obtaining the water of life, but we might even lose our lives. Tell me, would we agree to be your cannon fodder? He succinctly stated the purpose of these people. His words caused the expressions of the surrounding students to change drastically. Previously, they only suspected that these people had ulterior motives. However, after hearing Xiaoping's analysis, they all understood. It turned out that they were planning to use them as cannon fodder. No wonder they were so enthusiastic and took the initiative to invite them to join and share the water of life. These bastards were too sinister. If they agreed, they would probably be in trouble. Shut your beak. A tall senior shouted angrily. You really don't know what you're talking about. A dog's mouth can't spit out ivory. Saying such unfathomable words to sow discord here. What are you scheming? We're kind enough to invite you to join us and explore together. Not only do you not know how to be grateful, but you actually want to smear our reputation. You really don't know what you're talking about. A student with a flat top revealed a cold gleam in his eyes. Everyone, I think this kid is very likely to be a demon in disguise. He's purposely lurking among us humans to sow discord. Why don't we capture him and investigate thoroughly? Chapter 398. The faces of the surrounding students changed. They immediately knew that the azure-clothed man and his group wanted to find an excuse to deal with Xiaoping, to kill the chicken, to scare the monkey, and to frighten them. This was the so-called "the bird that sticks out will be shot." However, they were helpless. The difference in strength between the two sides was too great. Even if they were tied together, they would not be a match for these martial master-level experts. I also feel that there is something wrong with this kid. We invited him with good intentions, but he is still here to refuse. This situation is very unusual. Even if he is not transformed from a demon, he may have a great relationship with a demon. You guys go forward and capture him. Let's see what tricks he has. He actually dares to say such disunited words. The azure-clothed man sneered. He stared at Xiaoping, revealing a trace of coldness. This kid actually dared to expose their plot in front of so many people. Was he courting death? If they did not beat this kid up to scare the monkey, their plan would be ruined. However, this was also good. After beating this guy up, the other students would know what to do. Otherwise, if a thorn jumped out one by one, it would probably cause great trouble. Kid, come here for me. With a boom, the three tall students had a ferocious smile on their faces. Their bodies emitted a terrible aura, and even the ground shook and cracked. The three of them grabbed with their big hands, and the air shook and an explosion broke out of nowhere. The faces of the surrounding students changed greatly. Their faces were as white as paper. Feeling the strong shock, the aftermath of the chi pushed them back dozens of steps, and a mouthful of blood spurted out. They were all shocked. The gap between the martial warrior realm and the martial master realm was too big. They did not need to attack with all their strength. Just the aftermath of the attack was enough to seriously injure them. Stupid. Xiaoping's eyes revealed a trace of coldness. He instantly made a move. A palm came down from the sky, and the mountain forest shook. It was like a peerless, ferocious beast, and the air shook thousands of times. Bang, bang, bang. It was just a palm, but the terrifying pressure crushed down. The opponent's true essence big hand immediately shattered and was completely defeated. The terrifying power was instantly transmitted. The three tall students were immediately shaken to the point of vomiting blood. They were ruthlessly slapped to the ground like floodwaters bursting out of a dam. They didn't even have the strength to resist. With a cracking sound, the three of them were lying on the ground like turtles, forcibly smashing out a human-shaped pit. Dozens of cracks appeared on the ground, and they couldn't help but spurt out a large amount of blood. More than a dozen of their bones were broken. Following that, Xiaoping grabbed out with his hand, pulling the three of them to his feet. Stepping on them, he looked down at them and said, "You want to teach me a lesson with just this bit of strength? You're overestimating yourself." The three tall senior students were enraged, their hearts erupting like volcanoes, and they were ashamed to death. In merely a single move, they were completely defeated by Xiaoping, and they were beaten to the ground like dead dogs. Now they were being stepped on by Xiaoping's foot, ruthlessly trampling on. This was simply a complete humiliation to them. They had no dignity left, and their self-esteem shattered like glass. Right now, they simply wanted to dig a hole and bury their heads in it, never coming out for the rest of their lives. This kind of thing was really too shameful. What? The man in green and the others were shocked because things happened too quickly. They had just made a move, but they were actually captured by the boy in front of them in an instant. They had no strength to resist. In just one move, he had defeated 3 experts in the first heaven of the martial mentor realm. The strength was so strong that it was a complete mess. Even the strongest among them did not have such strength. The man in green's face was extremely gloomy, and he stared at Xiaoping. I really misjudged you. I didn't expect you to also have the strength of the martial men realm. You defeated my 3 companions in one move. You're really amazing. What's your name? He kept searching for the names of all kinds of famous experts he knew, but no matter how hard he tried, he could not see the true identity of this boy. It was as if this boy had appeared out of thin air. But the problem was that a powerhouse like this shouldn't still be unknown until now. You can call me Wu Wudi. Xiaoping's eyes rolled, and he casually gave a fake name. Arrogant, too arrogant. I've never heard of anyone who dares to use such a name. Wu Wudi? Even a King Realm expert would not dare to use such a name. This boy has really eaten the heart of a bear and the heart of a leopard. It must be a fake name. He actually dared to fool us. He really deserves to die. Hearing these words, the man in green and the others all flew into a rage, thinking that Xiaoping was playing with them. You hiding your head and showing your tail. Do you think that I don't know your identity by giving you a fake name? When I capture you, I'll soon make you pay. The man in green snorted coldly. Let's go together and kill him. With a clang, a dozen experts in the martial mentor realm immediately made a move. They pulled out a long saber from their bodies. It was extremely sharp and had a shocking aura, like a ferocious tiger. The saber slashed down, emitting rays of cold light. Each ray of saber chi contained a terrifying power. In the void, there was a roar of a hungry tiger, as if it was going to bite countless prey to death. This was the hungry tiger saber technique. They were all students of the same school and had also cultivated the same martial arts techniques. Their minds were connected, and when more than a dozen people attacked at the same time, the power was simply earth-shattering. It was as if more than a dozen hungry tigers were running out of the forest, or as if thousands of horses were trembling. The saber chi shook the sky, and the power was several times more powerful than a single person. Immovable Buddha's palm. A cold light flashed in Xiaoping's eyes. He stood where he was, took a step forward, and struck with his palm. Immediately, a huge golden light rose from his body, like gold, bathing in divine light. This was the aura of a Buddha, solemn and dignified, as if there was a Buddha singing in the void. A huge golden hand shot out, condensing into a solid substance, containing the power to subdue demons and demons. Bang! 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 The two forces collided wildly, and the air shook thousands of times. There was a huge explosion, and the surrounding rocks were shattered into dozens of pieces, instantly turning into powder. Trees were uprooted and cracked. The ground was also shaking, and more than a dozen shocking cracks appeared, stretching for 1 to 2 kilometers. Gravel flew everywhere, and dust billowed. In the distance, a group of students were scared half to death. This level of battle was not something they could participate in. All of them ran for their lives, hoping to avoid the aftermath. However, some students were very slow and were instantly hit by the aftermath of this power. They were sent flying, coughing up blood in midair. They flew for hundreds of meters before falling to the ground. Chapter 399. Kill. The man in green and the others yelled angrily. They were shocked that Xiaoping was able to withstand their attacks. They did not expect that a single person could withstand their joint attack. However, it was hard to get off now. If they did not completely destroy this kid, how could they kill the chicken to scare the monkey? How could they subdue the group of students to work for them? Bang, bang, bang. They circulated the quintessential essence in their bodies. Even the air seemed to be boiling. They gripped their long sabers tightly and slashed at Xiaoping. In an instant, thousands of saber lights exploded. An ordinary martial master would be instantly chopped into meat paste in the face of such an attack. The nearby students were shocked. Even though they had followed them for 100 meters, they could feel the power of the saber chi attack. It was condensed and had the power to block rivers and split the earth. 8 heavenly dragons sound. Xiaoping's eyes flashed coldly. He immediately used the group attack technique. 8 heavenly dragons sound. Woo, goo, ba, ah, 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 ah. One after another, the sound waves almost condensed into a substance. They rushed over like waves, each more powerful than the one before, sweeping the surroundings. In the void, there was a vague roar of a heavenly dragon. It also contained a mental attack. It attacked the man in green and the others, covering an area. Bang, bang, bang. The saber chi and the sound waves collided. It was as if thousands of weapons were crazily slashing at each other. Clanging sounds could be heard, and intense sparks erupted in the air. It was as if thousands of soldiers and horses were fighting. Ah, ah, ah. Finally, the man in green and the others could not withstand the threat of the sound wave attack. The terrifying sound waves swept the surroundings, penetrated the air, and bombarded the bodies of these people. With a bang, their bodies flew out as if they had been trampled by a ferocious beast. Their lungs were severely injured in an instant, and they shook hundreds of times. With a puff, these people immediately coughed out blood in the air and flew hundreds of meters away. Finally, they smashed hard on the ground. They were already in a state of being on the verge of death. Oh no, this kid is too strong. This is troublesome. Run quickly. I know some helpers. Let's make a strategic retreat now. Wait for me to come back and kill him. However, including the green-robed man, there were still 3 or 4 people who were strong and had strong bodies. They could barely withstand such an attack. They struggled to get up from the ground and quickly fled into the distance. A cold light flashed in Xiaoping's eyes. He took a step forward and punched the air. In the blink of an eye, 3 or 4 fist prints appeared at a distance of 400 to 500 meters away. They condensed into substance, and even the air was shaking. It was as if a ferocious beast had descended. Bang, bang, bang. Immediately, the green-robed man and the others didn't even manage to take a few steps before their backs were forcefully punched. In an instant, a fist mark appeared, and a huge force shook them. Ah! Their bodies were once again sent flying, smashing heavily into a rock that was as tall as a person in the distance. The rock was immediately smashed into pieces. Up until now, none of the azure-robed man and the others could stand up. Too strong. He's clearly a monster. This kid looks like he's only in the 9th heaven of the martial artist realm. How can he be so strong? As expected of Wu Wudi, with such strength, he's already invincible in the martial artist realm. He's ridiculously strong. Even those who have just become martial masters are no match for him. This is unbelievable. Why is such a strong person still unknown? Even if the Black and White College has a lot of enemies, Ares College's Niezhun is probably not as strong as him. There's nothing strange about this. It's not just Yanhuang University and other super universities that come to the Cloud Mist Mountains. There are also some ordinary universities. It's normal for these universities to occasionally produce a few capable people. There are hidden dragons and crouching tigers. The surrounding students were all shocked. In just a few moves, these martial masters were easily defeated by Wu Wudi. It was as easy as cutting melons and vegetables. Tell me, how do you want to die? Xiaoping came in front of the green-robed man and the others and looked down at them. Do you want me to punch you in the head? Or do you want me to throw you into the demon cave and let you be eaten alive? Choose how you want to die. He gave these people 2 choices. Suddenly, the green-robed man and the others turned pale and trembled in fear. They could feel the terrifying, murderous aura from Xiaoping. This was definitely not a joke. This man would do what he said. Big brother, we were wrong, very wrong. We failed to recognize Mount Tai. If you can spare us this time, we will definitely be grateful to you in the future. We will even work like a slave for you. The green-robed man trembled and tried to beg for mercy. With a bang, Xiaoping slapped the green-robed man's face. In an instant, a 5-fingered red mark was left on the green-robed man's face, and he spun a few times on the spot. Deeply grateful? Do I need you to be grateful? You're just like ants. So what if you're grateful? Do you think you can bring me any benefits? He stood with his hands behind his back and looked at the green-robed man and the others. A tall student trembled and said, Big brother, we're a student from the Cloud Realm. Since we're all classmates, can you pa? Before he could even finish speaking, Xiaoping kicked him, sending him flying and smashing him fiercely onto an enormous rock, causing him to feel heart-wrenching and lung-splitting pain. Classmates? You can't beat me, so you're trying to make friends. I hate these glib-tongued people the most. Do you think I'll forgive you just because you're my classmates? If you want me to forgive you, it's very simple. Go hang yourself here and cry in hell. Then I'll forgive you. Xiaoping stared at this group of people fiercely. What a devil. The surrounding students were all trembling with fear. They felt that this kid was simply a madman who took torturing people as his own pleasure. He was cruel and was absolutely a demon through and through. Then what do you want? The green-robed man and the others looked at Xiaoping in horror. What do I want? Xiaoping stood with his hands behind his back, looking calm and composed. Trash like you, simple-minded single-celled organisms, worms grown from feces, and trash that no one is willing to step on even if you're thrown on the road. If you don't want to die, there's only one way, and that is to listen to my orders completely and completely. If I tell you to face east, you can't face west. If I tell you to have girlfriends, you can't do it. If I tell you to hang yourself, you can't jump off a cliff. If I tell you to die, you have to die. There's absolutely no room for doubt. A student was unconvinced. Aren't they slaves? Chapter 400. The man in green and the others were so angry that their teeth were itching. This was definitely a demon. He actually wanted them to be slaves for this bastard. How is that possible? All of them were from top universities and had now advanced to the martial master realm. All of them were made to be generals. Even if they joined a martial arts organization now, they would have great power and command tens of thousands of subordinates. But now, they were actually forced to be slaves. How could they be willing? But now, they had no choice but to lower their heads. If they were unwilling to submit, they would be killed by this demon with one slap. They would die a worthless death like a fly. If you're not convinced, come out. Let me see which one of you is not convinced. Xiaoping looked at this group of people indifferently. Everyone, don't listen to him. This bastard is just bluffing. We are all outstanding students. The death of any one of us will cause a commotion in the school. The federal government will pursue this matter to the end. A man in white jumped out and shouted, I don't believe that this kid really dares to kill us. If we die, he won't have it easy either. He did not believe that Xiaoping would dare to do anything to them. He thought that this was a bluff. He had seen this kind of trick many times. He tried to use intimidation to force other students to submit. However, he was not stupid enough to submit just because of a few words of intimidation. Wu Wudi, I know that your martial arts are powerful, but this is a society ruled by law. With the existence of a law, you must not act recklessly. If you know what's good for you, apologize to us immediately. Otherwise, when I leave the Cloud Mist Mountains, I will immediately report this to the school. When that time comes, you, Wu Wudi, will have to bear the consequences. The man in white still wanted to reason with Xiaoping. Bang! Before he could finish speaking, Xiaoping slammed his palm down in the air. A terrifying giant hand condensed from quintessential essence, crushed down, and slapped the man in white's head. With a crack, the top of the man's skull was instantly smashed into pieces. His entire head was like a watermelon, and a large amount of blood flowed out. The man in white was dead. Bluff? Who dares to say that I'm bluffing? I, Wu Wudi, kill without restraint. I kill when I say I kill. Xiaoping looked at the man in green and the others indifferently. Who said that I don't dare to kill and is bluffing? Jump out immediately and let me see if I dare to kill you. His words were filled with murderous intent. The students present were so scared that they peed their pants. Their faces were as pale as paper, and their bodies were shaking like a sieve. They watched as the man in white was slapped to death by Xiaoping. His head was smashed into pieces, and he could not be more dead. Who dared to doubt that Wu Wudi did not dare to kill? Who dared to jump out? The man in white who had just jumped out had already been slapped to death by the man in front of him. If another one jumped out, or even a few jumped out, it would be the same. Killing one was killing a few was also killing. There was no difference between the two. They all knew this very well. In fact, some of them had thought that Lin Fan wouldn't dare to kill at will and would have some misgivings. After all, if he left the Cloud Mountain range, he might attract a certain degree of trouble. But seeing that the white-clothed man was killed by Xiaoping without hesitation, they didn't have any hope at all. All of them were trembling in fear. This was a true demon, killing without blinking an eye and without any scruples. Sometimes people were like this. They feared power, but not virtue. If they didn't kill a few people, they wouldn't know how powerful they were. They wouldn't know what it meant to respect and fear the strong. Too ferocious, too powerful. That's a martial master realm expert. He killed him just like that. He's so cruel. He's definitely a demon. He doesn't care about anything and kills people like flies. That kid is really stupid. He still dared to jump out at this time. If he doesn't die, who else will? He's indeed an idiot. Wu Woody clearly wanted to kill the chicken to scare the monkey, but he jumped out at this time. If he doesn't kill him, will he still be a threat? That idiot will definitely die. But Wu Woody is really ruthless. He killed a martial master just like that. Isn't he afraid of causing trouble? He probably has a huge backer who can settle everything. Everyone discussed and looked at Xia Ping in awe. At this time, they didn't dare to underestimate this kid anymore. Even looking at him was a little fearful. They didn't know when they would anger Wu Woody and get themselves killed. Say something. Why aren't you saying anything? Xia Ping looked at the man in green and the others. Weren't you all very talkative just now? If you don't say it now, when do you want to say it? Or do you want to say it to Hades? He stood with his hands behind his back, looking murderous. Big brother, we were wrong. We were really wrong. If Big Brother wants us to be slaves, then we will be slaves. Please don't kill us. Yes, yes, yes. Whatever Big Brother says, we won't have any objections. Hearing this, the man in green and the others completely broke down. All of them trembled and were no longer unconvinced. There was only fear. They all lowered their heads to Xia Ping and begged to be his slaves. Although dignity was important, life was more important. As the saying went, it was better to live than to die a good death. They were all elite students with a bright future. They were all geniuses who could become kings in the future. If they died here now, they would lose everything. How could they be willing to accept that? What about you? Do you have any objections? Xia Ping turned to look at the other group of students. The group of martial warrior realm students was scared to death. They didn't expect that Xia Ping would also target them. They were probably targeted by this demon and wanted them to be slaves. Without a doubt, this demon wanted them to be slaves. He had the same idea as the man in green and the others. He hoped that they could explore the nearby mountains and find the location of the water of life. He wanted them to be cannon fodder. However, after seeing the tragic death of the man in white, they didn't dare to say anything to refute. I am convinced too. Yes, yes, yes. I'm convinced. I'm completely convinced. We will naturally follow Big Brother Wu's lead. We will do whatever Big Brother tells us to do. There will be no doubts. These people also lowered their heads and surrendered like the man in green and the others. After all, even a martial master realm expert was killed by a slap. Even if they struggled, they would only be sending themselves to death. With the power of killing the man in white, Xia Ping completely subdued this group of unruly students. It was impossible for them to betray him in a short period of time. Very good. Now start exploring the nearby mountains and find the location of the water of life. Xia Ping immediately ordered the group to move and search for the water of life. Chapter 4:01. A few days later, in the central region of the Cloud, Mist Mountain Range, there were many mountains. At this time, in a valley, there were rivers and grasslands nearby. The man in green and the others were resting here, but they looked extremely miserable. All of them were covered in blood, some had broken arms and legs, and some had their noses and mouths swollen like sausages. It was as if they had gone for plastic surgery. They were like patients coming out of a disabled hospital, as miserable as they could be. At this time, Xia Ping went somewhere else to pee and did not stay with them for the time being. F***, we can't continue like this. If we're tricked by this bastard into entering those mountains again, we will be completely finished. We will die without a burial place. Why don't we rebel? With a smack, a red-clothed student held a cup in his hand and smashed it hard on the ground, creating a deep pit. His expression was ferocious, and he was extremely angry. His expression was like that of a farmer who had been squeezed to the extreme by the emperor. He could no longer stand the harsh punishments, heavy taxes, and labor of the court, and wanted to rebel. That's not good. That bastard Wu is not a good person. If we rebel, I'm afraid we will be killed immediately. Some students were trembling in fear. These few days, he had been frightened badly by Xia Ping's ruthless methods. It had left a shadow in his heart, and he did not even have a trace of courage to resist Xia Ping. What are you afraid of? The students' spittle flew everywhere. Didn't you see how this bastard treated us these few days? When he saw a strange mountain, he forced us to go in and take the risk. He made us fight the demons that were trapped in the space of the mountain. And this bastard just sat there and watched us go in and die. If this goes on, we will die in the hands of those demons before we die in the hands of this bastard Wu. Everyone, can we still tolerate this? He clenched his fists, his expression ferocious. That's right, we definitely can't tolerate this. A student who was missing an arm shouted, I was forced by this bastard to go in to fight with the demons. I wanted to find traces of the water of life, but in the end, I was bitten off by the demons. It wasn't easy for me to escape from that place. Forget the fact that I didn't even pay for my medical fees. This guy even dared to make sarcastic remarks. He said that it was because I rubbed myself too much last night that my body was weak. That's why I was defeated by the demons and ended up like this. Serves me right. I'll let him live. Goddamn Wu, I'm not done with him. Although medical science was advanced, and even if an arm was severed, it could be cloned using science and technology. However, there were no hospitals in the Cloud, Mist Mountain range. Without an arm, his combat strength would be greatly reduced. Even if he successfully reconnected in the future, it would still be affected. One could imagine how sad and indignant he was right now. I feel the same. A student whose face had changed beyond recognition also said in grief and indignation, It's bad enough that he forced us into a dangerous place, but this *** still dares to boast shamelessly here, saying that as a martial artist, we should be courageous and fearless, climbing mountains and wading rivers. I've met his face. If this guy is really that courageous, why did he force us to risk our lives and become cannon fodder? It's clear that he's afraid of death and wants us to be his guiding light. If Xia Ping was standing here, he might have rushed up and bitten Xia Ping to death. It's even worse for me. I didn't want to go in, but that ** said that I lacked courage and wanted to help me. So he kicked me in. In the end, I fell into a nest of demons and was watched by a group of demons. A student whose head was bandaged like a dumpling roared. In the end, I was ravaged by that group of demons for dozens of minutes. In the end, when they were not paying attention, I desperately escaped. Now look at me. I've changed beyond recognition. Even my mother probably can't recognize me. I've never experienced something like this in my life. I hate this ** to the core. He gritted his teeth, but the corner of his mouth twitched. The pain was so heart-wrenching that he could not say anything after that. He could only fall to the ground and wail. Isn't that right? This ** is wicked. He's clearly a coward, yet he still has the nerve to point fingers here. I've never seen such a thick-skinned person. Where did this Ned Wu come from? When I get out, I'll definitely go to his school to complain and gather a group of people to settle the score with him. Rebel. Why don't we rebel now? Yes, let's do it together. I don't believe that this ** has 3 heads and 6 arms. He can't take us down. If we don't kill him now, we'll be killed by him later. Since we're going to die anyway, why not rebel? One by one, the students roared, filled with righteous indignation. They shared a common enemy, and their faces were flushed red. They felt that at this moment, their hearts were connected, and their hearts were connected. What rebel? Who's the one who wants a rebel? Who's so cocky? Come out and take a few steps for me to see. Suddenly, a voice was heard. But these students shivered all over like the winter wind in December. It scared them half to death, and a chill surged up from the soles of their feet. The person who spoke was Xia Ping, who had just returned from afar. He was smiling at the group of students who were trying to rebel. No one wants to rebel. Big brother, you must have heard wrongly. We don't want to rebel. We just want to eat. The red-shirt student who had been the loudest just now stuttered. Although he was so courageous just now, when he saw Xia Ping, he was the first to wet his pants. After all, Xiaoping had single-handedly wiped out a group of them, and he was already so terrifying when he was unharmed. Now they were all missing arms and legs like disabled people. How could they be Xiaoping's match? If they dared to anger Xiaoping, they would all be thrown into the mountain to feed the demons. Want to eat? But why did I hear that you want to rebel? All of you are very dissatisfied, saying that I'm a coward who has 3 heads and 6 arms. Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. There's no such thing. There's no such thing at all. We respect you the most, big brother. Whoever dares to rebel, I'll be the first to kill him. I'm not bragging. Even my parents don't respect you so much. Let's not talk about doing something like rebelling. We've never even thought about it. We're just that honest. All the students hurriedly shouted and even patted their chest to show that they had no intention of rebelling at all. The so-called rebellious talk was all nonsense. They had heard wrongly. Very good. It's good that you don't want to rebel. Both sides should be like this, mutually beneficial, and create a harmonious society together. Xiaoping was very satisfied. Of course, it looks like I'm the one who benefits now, but as the saying goes, get rich first. When I, Wu Wudi, become famous and stand out, there'll be soup for you sooner or later. Soup for you. Chapter 402. Yes, Big Brother. I hope Big Brother can help us when he becomes outstanding in the future. We're just waiting for Big Brother to become outstanding. We've been looking forward to it for so long. When Big Brother advances to the King Realm, I'll be Big Brother's #1 henchman. Although these students cursed endlessly in their hearts and hated Xiaoping to the bone, they didn't dare to voice their anger. They were extremely aggrieved. Not bad. I like honest people like you. If you have something to say, just say it. Xiaoping looked at the expressions of the group of people with satisfaction and loudly praised them. They wished for nothing more than to slap this bastard's face when they saw his shameless expression, but they could only endure it. But, Big Brother, we've only explored 200 to 300 mountains in these past few days, but there are an entire 18,000 mountains here. It's not even a fraction of the total. A student shouted, I think we might not be able to find the water of life, even after the Cloud Mist Mountain range closes. Why don't we just disperse and go our separate ways? He wanted to seize this opportunity to escape from Xiaoping's clutches. The others were tempted as well. Even if they didn't obtain the water of life, they didn't want to continue staying in this damnable place. If they continued like this, they would just be working for Xiaoping. That's indeed a problem. Xiaoping rubbed his chin. He also felt that the efficiency of exploring the central area of the Cloud Mist Mountain range was too low. It was a huge project to explore 18,000 mountains with a few dozen people. In order to find the location of the water of life, one needed luck. Relying on luck was simply too illusory. No, that's not right. Xiaoping's eyes suddenly lit up. It's impossible to find the water of life with ordinary methods, but if I rely on smell, I might be able to find it. He suddenly recalled that he knew the 10,000-mile tracking art and could distinguish the smell of everything in the world. Although there were 18,000 mountains in the central area, and it covered a vast area, it was a land of demons after all. It was filled with dense devil energy, but it also contained the aura of the water of life. Moreover, the water of life contained the energy of extreme yang, so its aura should be completely different from other smells. Perhaps I can find the water of life by smell. Thinking of this, Xiaoping immediately began to revolve the 10,000-mile tracking technique. His true essence surged, and his nose began to throb. He began to feel the thousands of smells that filled the air. After circulating his true essence, he felt that he seemed to be able to distinguish smell more clearly. Not only could he feel the type of each item, but he could even distinguish the emotions of the smell. Some were happy, some were afraid, some were excited, and some were courting each other. Of course, this was only a vague feeling. This aura of extreme yang is shining like a blazing sun. At the same time, it's filled with vitality. Could it be the aura of the water of life? After distinguishing for a full hour, Xiaoping finally found a faint aura among the smells. It seemed to be coming from an extremely far place. If he did not use all his strength, he would not have been able to detect this aura among the many smells. Regardless of whether it is the water of life or not, We should go check it out. If we can find it, we won't have to waste so much time. Thinking of that, Xiaoping immediately instructed the cyan-robed man and the others to set off. After another day, they had walked thousands of kilometers and passed thousands of mountains along the way. Finally, they arrived at a remote corner of the central area. In this corner, there was only a lonely mountain peak. It was only 400 or 500 meters high, compared to the nearby mountains that were thousands or even tens of thousands of meters high. It was really too inconspicuous. Yes, that's right. This should be the source of the water of life. This pure yang aura is really too rich. Xiaoping came near the mountain peak and immediately became spirited. Although the mountain was covered with an array that seemed to isolate a considerable part of the energy, it still could not prevent the aura of life from leaking out. Thanks to this aura, there were even trees and weeds growing near the mountain peak. It was overflowing with green, completely different from the previously lifeless mountains. No way, what's going on with this mountain peak? Why is there such a rich aura of life gushing out? Could it be that this mountain peak contains the water of life? Yes, absolutely. This is the aura of the water of life. Don't you see that there are plants growing around it? There has never been such a phenomenon in other mountains. It's really unique. If we don't get close to this mountain peak, we won't be able to discover such an anomaly. That's to be expected. The surroundings are covered by an array. The air is distorted, and there are many strange phenomena. If we don't get close to it, we won't be able to discover the scene here. Could it be that the damn Wu Wudi really discovered the traces of the water of life? He's too lucky. How did he find this place? It's indeed very strange. This mountain peak is very remote and very inconspicuous. Even if we look carefully, we might have missed it. But now Wu Wudi discovered it in an instant. Could it be that he already knew the location of the water of life? The reason why he did all those things before was to trick us and take revenge on us? Everyone discussed and looked at the mountain peak and Xiaoping in shock. Their hearts trembled, and for a moment, all kinds of thoughts and feelings surged. After all, according to their original guess, they estimated that they might not be able to find the water of life even after a month. They could only return empty-handed and leave the Cloud Mist Mountains. The Cloud Mist Mountains had been opened countless times before, and many of the students had returned empty-handed. They had all left without finding anything, wasting an opportunity. Therefore, even if no one could obtain the water of life this time, they would not be surprised. But now, they had found it in an instant and did not even need to spend a lot of effort. They were very shocked and could not believe their eyes. All right, this time you guys stay outside. I'll go in and explore this place. You injured people can stay here and rest. This time, you don't need to go in. Xiaoping waved his hand, indicating that he would go in alone and let the man in green and the others stay. Shameless. Hearing this, the man in green and the others were furious. They had clearly found the mountain peak where the water of life was, but they were deliberately stopping them from going in. What did he mean by letting them rest here? In fact, it was all because he wanted to take the water of life for himself. He clearly wanted to take it all for himself. They didn't expect this bastard to be so greedy. He took all the meat and didn't even leave the bones. Chapter 403. Swoosh. Xiaoping ignored their complaints and rushed in. In the blink of an eye, a ripple appeared in the space. His silhouette disappeared in front of the crowd as he entered the mountain peak. Damn it, this bastard wants to take it all for himself. One of the students was indignant. They had come to the Cloud Mountain range for the water of life. But now that the kid had entered, they were not allowed to enter. How could they be willing to accept this? Why don't we go in as well? We can't let him take the water of life for himself. Another student clenched his fist. He wanted to go in with them and fight for the water of life. No, that guy won't go back on his words. If we really dare to go in, we might be killed by him with one palm. That would be too unjust. Some students were still very afraid of Xiaoping. Everyone nodded. After all these days, they had completely understood Xiaoping's strength. He was definitely a monster. Anyone who dared to resist would be completely suppressed by him. Why don't we leak this news and call for external help? A student suggested. Hearing this, the eyes of the group lit up. That's a good idea. If other experts come here, I don't think this kid will be able to take it all for himself. That's right. Even if this guy has 3 heads and 6 arms, how can he resist a pack of wolves? If the other students know that we found the mountain peak where the water of life is, I'm afraid they will all flock here. That bastard wants to take it all for himself. How can it be such a good thing? We have to find some trouble for him. Everyone began to discuss the matter, and one word after another, they decided on this matter. They planned to leak the matter of the life water and cause trouble for Xiaoping. That way, with so many experts fighting, they would be able to fish in troubled waters. Swoosh! Xiaoping stepped into the mountain peak and passed through an energy wall. He immediately sensed that the mountain peak was actually a small space. Its surface area was more than 100 times larger than it looked from the outside. There were huge mountains all around, and there was a flat valley in the middle. There seemed to be a huge lake in the middle of the valley. It was so clear that one could see the bottom, and it contained divine energy. Above the lake, there was a silver aura. The air was filled with vitality. It seemed that just smelling the air here would greatly increase one's primary energy and life potential. Water of life. The entire lake is filled with water of life. A light flashed in Xiaoping's eyes as he saw a valley lake 5 or 6 kilometers away. The entire lake was filled with the extremely precious water of life. The energy formed by the water of life spread out in all directions, and the surrounding 1 kilometer became a holy region filled with purifying light. No demons or ghosts could enter, and any demon that dared to enter would die without a doubt. Bang, bang, bang. At this moment, the black soil trembled and blood-colored energy gathered together. Immediately, many powerful demons appeared. They had long horns on their heads, and their bodies were completely red, as if they were wearing hard armor. They were 3.5 meters tall, and their muscles were extremely strong. They held huge axes in their hands, and they were simply the most elite of warriors. Ox Demon Monster. Xiaoping immediately recognized that these demons were the famous demonic ox demons. These demons had boundless strength and were indestructible. With a single strike, they could shatter the earth. Their destructive power was terrifying. Even the defense of their bodies was extremely strong. An ordinary expert at the first heaven of the Martial Master realm would not be able to break their defense. Furthermore, they were not afraid of death. When ordinary warriors encountered these demonic ox demons, they could only retreat. Otherwise, they would definitely die under the attack of the demonic ox demons. They would be chopped into a ball of meat paste and die without a burial. A human has entered the center of the altar. He actually dares to come here. He is clearly courting death. Everyone, don't stop me. I have not tasted human flesh for a long time. This time, I can eat to my heart's content. I can't eat it alone. How can I miss out on such a delicacy? Kill him, kill this human. One by one, the demonic ox demons let out an earth-shattering roar. At this moment, even the air was vibrating. The terrifying ghost Qi was like a storm sweeping over in an instant, trying to surround Xiaoping. There were thousands of demonic ox demons rushing over. That was simply an army of 100,000 people. The aura was astonishing. If ordinary warriors stood in this place, they would not even need to do anything. They would instantly be trampled into meat paste. By the way, this is the right time to try out the 4-season sword technique that I just learned. With a clang, Xiaoping immediately took out a sword from his space ring. This was a sword that he had exchanged from the system for 10,000 hatred points. It could cut iron like mud and did not stain a drop of blood. As for the 4-season sword technique, it was also a king-level secret manual that he had exchanged from the system. It was worth 200,000 hatred points. He had used the system to instill it in a few days ago. The reason why he had learned this sword technique was to cover up his martial arts moves. After all, Xiaoping was now a different person. If he still used the 8 heavenly dragons' music, myriad beast fist, and Buddha's palm, he was afraid that someone would see through his identity. Fortunately, he had not used these 3 martial arts before. It was estimated that the students outside would not be able to see through it in a short period of time. After all, There are many killing techniques in this world, as well as many secrets of Buddha. He was not the only one who knew them. For example, the Buddha's 1,000 hands that Jiang Yaru had learned before was a powerful Buddhist martial art. Therefore, he had learned a new sword technique to deceive others. This way, others would not be able to find any clues from his martial arts. Go to hell, human. The demonic ox demons roared. They held giant axes in their hands and ran over like giants. It was as if the mountains were shaking and the earth was shaking, carrying an astonishing murderous aura. Ordinary martial artists would have been scared out of their wits in the face of this scene. Come on. Xiaoping's eyes revealed a trace of cold light. With a clang, he pulled out his sword. An array of cold light flashed out. It seemed that at this moment, a chill had spread all around, and even the temperature had dropped by dozens of degrees. The first move of the Four Seasons sword technique, continuous spring rain. He slashed out with his sword, and a tyrannical Zhen Yuan burst out. Streams of sword qi shot out like a spring rain, turning into fine lines that fell from the sky. It was as if spring had arrived, and the atmosphere of spring was overflowing. However, these spring rain sword qi contained a terrifying killing intent. Drops of spring rain condensed together and actually turned into a line. This was spring rain turning into a line. Chapter 404. Roar. A demonic ox demon let out a loud roar. It ran over like a tank, causing the ground to shake. Its body emitted a terrifying aura. Go to hell. Xiaoping slashed down with his sword. It was like a gentle spring rain, like a lover's whisper. It looked extremely gentle, but it contained a frightening, killing intent. With a poochie sound, the spring rain condensed into a line and chopped down. Immediately, a clear line of blood appeared on the body of the demonic ox demon. With a paw, its body split open from the middle, and blood sprayed out like a fountain. It smashed onto the ground on both sides, creating a cloud of dust. Damn humans, how dare you kill our companion? Kill him immediately. A group of demonic ox demons roared. Seeing one of their companions die, they were simply infuriated. Dozens of them ran over, raised their giant axes, and smashed down. Immediately, dozens of terrifying qi forces slashed down, shaking the earth. Xiaoping's feet moved in a strange manner, like a rock. His mental strength spread out, and he had already become one with the surrounding environment. The air, dust, gravel, soil, etc., were all clearly sensed by his mental strength. His body moved instinctively, without needing to think at all. In an instant, he dodged the attacks of the demonic ox demons. Streams of qi smashed down, and in an instant, dozens of terrifying cracks appeared. A huge rock in the distance was smashed into pieces. From this, it could be seen how powerful the demonic ox demons were. They were strong enough to carry a cauldron. With a swing of their axes, they had the power to split the earth. Even an ordinary expert in the first sky of the martial master realm would not be able to withstand such an attack. Kill. Xiaoping waved the long sword in his hand, like a butterfly dancing. Streams of sword qi slashed out. The sword qi was extremely sharp and indestructible. At this moment, he felt as if he had become one with the surrounding environment. Every stroke of his sword was extremely exquisite. He grasped the opponent's blind spots and did not waste any energy. He found the precise angle of attack. It was as if these demonic ox demons had delivered their heads to Xiaoping for him to kill at will. With a few poochie sounds, the sword qi flew out like spring rain. Immediately, dozens of demonic ox demons' heads flew up, cut by the tyrannical sword qi. Blood sprayed everywhere. They had been killed by one stroke of the sword. So that's how it is. This is the true meaning of the Lamita realm. Fusing one's emotions, fusing one's sword, and fusing one's spirit with all things in the world. This is already the state of mental concentration. Xiaoping was enlightened. Previously, he had occasionally unleashed the power of the Lamita realm, but he hadn't been able to fully comprehend it. Now that he was engaged in a life-and-death battle with these demonic ox demons, he finally had a deeper understanding of it. Once one completely comprehended the power of the Lamita realm, they would be able to use their spiritual energy to sense their surroundings. Everything around them would be clearly sensed, just like an AI that knew the air, rocks, soil, smells, and other data. Then, they would be able to come to a conclusion in an instant, and their bodies would be able to react accordingly. This was practically an instinctive technique. Come on, a little more. Xiaoping looked at the demonic ox demons in front of him, his battle intent surging. To him, these demonic ox demons weren't his enemies. They were merely whetstones that could help him sharpen his skills. As his mental power grew stronger, the speed at which the true essence in his body transformed became faster and faster. The majestic true essence quickly liquefied and transformed into drops of dark red true essence. If this continued, it would not be long before he could truly advance to the martial master realm. Damn it. Damn human. What do you think we demonic ox demons are? You actually treat us as whetstones? You're too arrogant. Let's kill this arrogant human together. I want to eat his flesh and blood raw. Suddenly, countless demonic ox demons let out angry roars. They were so infuriated by Xiaoping's actions that they felt like their lungs were about to explode. They were demonic ox demons that caused people to tremble with fear, and they had devoured countless humans. But now, they had actually become whetstones for this damned human. How could they tolerate such a thing? Each and every one of the demonic ox demons was extremely angry. Their skin turned red, and a majestic demonic chi emanated from them. Many red lines seemed to appear on the surface of their bodies. A large amount of demonic chi in the surrounding space was absorbed into their bodies. Their height also seemed to have increased, reaching a height of 4 meters. At this moment, their strength seemed to have increased, and they were like iron towers. Kill. Xiaoping's eyes were emotionless. He didn't care about the strange state that the demonic ox demons were in. He held the 3-meter-long sword in his hand and rushed towards the demonic ox demons. With a whoosh, he used the Koan Peng steps. Wings grew on his back, and the air vibrated. His current speed could only be described with one word, and that was fast. This kind of speed was really fast. In midair, even the demonic ox demons could only see Xiaoping's illusory afterimages. He shuttled back and forth between the countless demonic ox demons, displaying his extreme speed. He waved the long sword in his hand, displaying the peerless spring rain sword technique. In the blink of an eye, countless sword chi burst out, and lines of spring rain appeared. They were clearly visible and condensed into a solid form. If someone were to look down from above, they would immediately discover that a huge net of death had formed below. It had already completely enveloped the thousands of demonic ox demons present, and it had even separated them into dozens of spaces. When the long sword in Xiaoping's hand stopped, it was as if the entire world had stopped at this moment. The thousands of demonic ox demons also seemed to have been immobilized. After a second, the demonic ox demons suddenly let out a shrill scream. It seemed that they had only just felt the pain in their bodies. The speed of the sword chi had surpassed the speed at which their bodies could feel pain. When Xiaoping stopped, they realized that they had been chopped off. Their eyes were filled with endless fear. Only now did they realize that they were already dead. Bang, bang, bang. At this moment, the power of the sword chi immediately exploded, and their bodies were cut into hundreds of pieces. It was like a butcher dismembering an ox. The cuts were smooth, and pieces of flesh fell off. The blood from their bodies sprayed out like a fountain, dyeing the ground red. Pieces of flesh covered the entire ground. It was like a slaughterhouse, and the air was filled with the thick smell of blood. The demonic ox demons had all been killed. Are they all dead? Xiaoping felt that it was a pity. He was still immersed in the comprehension of the ultimate realm and the profound meaning of sword techniques. He felt that when he displayed the 4-season sword technique, his spiritual energy had also increased a little. He felt the sword will of spring, and his comprehension of the sword techniques had deepened. He was like a master of the sword. The feeling of spring lingered in the air. It was gentle to the extreme, fast to the extreme. This was a fatal killing intent that no one could resist. Let's go. Chapter 405. This is the lake of the water of life? Just as he stepped within a kilometer of the lake, Xiaoping immediately felt a vast force descend from the void. It seemed to form a unique domain with tyrannical power. He instantly knew that the lake also contained a tyrannical array. If he wasn't careful, he would be completely obliterated by the nearby array. There's a stone tablet? Xiaoping immediately noticed a huge black stone tablet in front of him. He didn't know what it was made of, but there were a few ancient words engraved on it. 2 liters per person. More will result in divine retribution. These words appeared as if they were the words of gold and jade. In this domain, they had an irresistible effect. It seemed that anyone who dared to violate them would suffer divine retribution. Xiaoping felt that these words contained a mysterious power. It was not a joke. It definitely had supreme power. His instincts warned him. Originally, he wanted to obtain a large amount of water of life, but it seemed impossible now. But thinking about it carefully, it was normal. If the ancient Almighty had transported the water of life here to suppress the demons, and if others kept plundering it, it would weaken the suppression effect of the ancient demon. Wouldn't that allow the demons to break the seal? Therefore, the Almighty who had created this array had thought of this, which was why many warriors were restricted from coming here to obtain the water of life. Whoosh! Thinking of this, Xiaoping stepped forward and came to the lake. He immediately felt an abundant energy surge into his pores, entering his limbs and bones, filling his body with strength. Bathed in such pure energy, some of his previous injuries, even the hidden injuries that were invisible to the naked eye, seemed to be completely healed in an instant. He felt that this lake was simply the lake of life, with a goddess of life living in it. Oh, what is this feeling? Suddenly, Xiaoping felt an extremely evil aura surge out from the depths of the lake. It was an unfathomable darkness, and there was even a beating heart. Every time it beat, a strange rhythm appeared in the void. The lake water produced clear ripples, and the air vibrated like the whispers of a demon. It made him feel so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood, and his blood boiled. This is the ancient demon that was suppressed here? Is it not dead yet? Xiaoping's eyes lit up. He could feel a dark aura surging out from the depths of the lake. It seemed to be trying to corrode the water of life and break out of the seal. But every time a trace of dark aura seeped out, it would be instantly destroyed by the water of life. The cycle continued without end. When the dark aura was extinguished, it was as if an ancient array formation had appeared in the lake, and a mysterious power surged out, causing the dark aura to rapidly transform into drops of life water. Amazing. The more Xiaoping thought about it, the more he felt the terror of the ancient powerhouses. Not only could this magic array suppress the ancient demons, but could also erase the demon's power, using the demon's source energy to transform into the water of life to strengthen the seal. Over time, the ancient demon would be completely obliterated and suppressed to death. Therefore, the water of life here had been taken away by humans countless times, but it had never dried up. It was estimated that the ancient Almighty of the human race not only wanted to suppress the ancient demon, but also wanted to make this ancient demon contribute to the human race and make it work as a laborer for all eternity. They wanted to turn this place into a cultivation holy land for the human race and strengthen the human warriors. This kind of wisdom was simply heaven-defying. However, Xiaoping still couldn't figure out why it could be transformed in such a way. Perhaps it involved a higher level of power, and it wasn't something a warrior like him could come into contact with for the time being. Whoosh! Thinking of this, Xiaoping immediately stepped forward and took out the water jar that he had prepared. When he arrived at the lake, he immediately took out 2 liters of water of life and filled the water jar. Just as he was about to act impulsively and take a little more, an extremely complicated magic array appeared in the air. A terrifying aura was brewing, as if the moment he wanted to make a move, a terrifying power would descend and obliterate his soul. Don't be afraid, human. Take as much as you want. With my help, You can get as much water of life as you want. Suddenly, a terrifying thought was transmitted to Xia Ping's mind. Even if he was unwilling, he could hear it. Who is it? A cold light flashed in Xia Ping's eyes. He knew that there were no humans nearby. I am the heaven-devouring demon lord, a supreme demon lord. As long as you are willing to help me escape, I will help you no matter what you need. Even if you want to advance to the Grandmaster realm, the King realm, or even higher realms, it won't be a problem at all. It's extremely easy for me. The figure tempted Chun Shi. So long as you listen to my orders, destroy the detestable magic array here, and release me, then you'll be able to possess supreme wealth and power in the world. Immediately, the voice reverberated in the sky, and it seemed to contain supreme might. There's no need. Xia Ping refused flatly. I can advance even without your help. He didn't believe anything that the so-called demon lord said. As the saying goes, those who aren't of the same race will definitely have different intentions. If he really released this demon lord, then he wouldn't be able to do anything if the demon lord went back on his word. Moreover, he was shocked in his heart. This cloud mist mountain range has been here for countless years, but the heaven-devouring demon lord that was suppressed here is actually still alive. I wonder what sort of height this demon lord has attained. Probably even a king realm expert is only at this level. Once such a terrifying demon lord was released, it would definitely cause a calamity to the human world, and blood would flow like rivers. Such a stupid thing could absolutely not be done. Oomph. Stupid human kid. Do you think advancing into the king realm is so easy? Even geniuses will be trapped in this bottleneck for an unknown period of time. With the help of this sovereign, your cultivation path would be smooth, and it would be easy for you to become a superior person. Don't you know which is more important? Devouring Heaven Demon Venerable's voice sounded again. Xia Ping rubbed his chin. What you said makes a lot of sense, but I don't know if what you said is true or false. Why don't you help me advance into the king realm, and I'll release you right away. He was up to no good. If he wanted the benefits of the heaven-devouring demon venerable, he would not do anything. Lowly human brat, you actually dared to be petty in front of me. You're courting death. You really don't know how to appreciate favors. The heaven-devouring demon venerable roared angrily. The entire lake was shaking, and huge waves that shook the heavens and the earth were raised. Rumble. Following that, a tyrannical thought descended and enveloped Xia Ping's sea of consciousness. What? Chapter 406. Hee, damned human brat. Once I destroy your consciousness and turn you into a walking corpse, you won't be able to do anything by then. Go to hell. The voice of the devouring heaven demon lord rang out, emitting an extremely evil aura that caused even the void to tremble. His immense mental strength invaded Xia Ping's mind immediately. Immediately, Xia Ping felt as though his soul was being shrouded by endless darkness as he fell into an endless abyss. If this were to carry on, he would definitely turn into the puppet of the devouring heaven demon lord, and even his soul would be destroyed. Damn it, you want to destroy my soul and turn me into a walking corpse? Dream on. Xia Ping bellowed. All of a sudden, his immense soul power burst forth, and he barely managed to maintain his consciousness as he used the heavenly dragon's music. Woo, ku, pa, ma, 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 ma. One after another, the sound burst forth and materialized in the void. It was as though a heavenly dragon had let out an earth-shattering roar that contained the power of extreme yawn. The heavenly dragon itself was an extremely formidable creature. The roar that it let out possessed the power to destroy all evils. A single roar could even kill all the evils in the world. Bam, bam, bam. Immediately, 8 sounds rang out in Xia Ping's mind, causing the void to tremble. Even the air turned into ripples that struck out at the demonic cloud. Arg! Immediately, the devouring heaven demon lord let out a tragic cry. A trace of his soul power was struck, and it felt as though it had been quaked thousands of times. His mental strength was on the verge of collapsing entirely. Damn it! Damn it! To think that you would know a skill called Sonic Slayer that can simulate the roar of the 8-division heavenly dragon. Damned human brat. Just where in the world did you learn such a skill from? The devouring heaven demon Lord bellowed out. It had been many years since he had thought that he would be able to capture this human easily this time around and turn him into his puppet. But who would have thought that this human would know such a horrifying sonic slayer skill that contained a horrifying mental attack that could even destroy his soul? When the 8 sounds reverberated, the sound waves swept out in all directions, sweeping through the entire universe. It had the power to destroy all the evils in the world. Even a demon lord like him would fall for it if he was careless. But do you think you could defeat me like this? Devouring heaven demon venerable was completely infuriated. A puny ant of the martial warrior realm actually dared to hurt him. If he wasn't sealed and could only leak a trace of his power, he could kill such an ant with a single breath. Therefore, his pride would never allow such a thing to happen. No matter what price he had to pay, he had to let this damned human brat know how powerful he was. Have a taste of this Lord's demonic heaven-gorging art. Enveloped by this demonic art, your soul will enter the 6 daos of reincarnation, reincarnating for 9 lifetimes before falling into oblivion. This Lord would like to see if you can still resist it. Devouring heaven demon venerable let out a furious roar, causing the entire lake to tremble. The bottom of the lake split open, and a terrifying demon hand emerged from the depths of the lake. It was a huge hand that was condensed from boundless demonic chi. This was a power that the devouring heaven demon lord had spent God knows how many years accumulating within the seal. At this moment, it burst forth and tore apart the formation. Dong! A black finger gently tapped on Xia Ping's forehead. A powerful, evil, and unstoppable force instantly surged into the space between Xia Ping's eyebrows and into the depths of his brain. Immediately, Xia Ping felt as if his soul was being pulled into an abyss by boundless black fog. His entire body was in a space of nothingness, as if his soul had instantly fallen into the 6 daos of reincarnation of hell. A demon appeared, laughing hideously. A black chain appeared in its hand, instantly binding Xia Ping's soul tightly like a criminal, wanting to pull Xia Ping away. Just as Xia Ping was about to fall into the Avicii hell and the 6 daos of reincarnation, a golden Buddha appeared in the depths of his mind, bursting with boundless golden light. Rumble! Immediately, the boundless demonic chi that had enveloped Xia Ping's brain seemed to have met its nemesis. It melted like snow, making sizzling sounds. Even the pure yang immortal technique in his body automatically started to operate. A terrifying dark red flame surged out from the depths of his soul, turning into a huge flame refinement. It was solemn and solemn, containing supreme destructive power. This force immediately bombarded the demon, enveloping his body. Devouring heaven demon venerable let out a shrill scream, as if acid had been splashed on his body. The power of his soul was severely corroded, and instantly, a large amount of gray aura was emitted. The terrifying flame also burned the air. The demonic chi was like the best fuel. Upon contact with the flame, it began to burn fiercely. There was no way to stop it. Damn it. What kind of cultivation technique did you cultivate? A king-class cultivation technique, or a god-class cultivation technique? Devouring heaven demon venerable shouted, unable to believe his eyes. This Buddha's golden light, this terrifying flame, where did it come from? How could a lowly human possess such power? He could feel that under the terrifying Buddha's light and the terrifying flame, his soul power was being pushed back, as if he was being attacked by a god. Especially against the power of such flames, his soul power was just like an ant. If he was still at his peak, he might not be afraid. But now, he could only leak a trace of power from the seal, and was completely no match for it. Go and die. Xia Ping's eyes revealed a cold gleam. He didn't show mercy, circulating the pure yang immortal technique in his body. All sorts of rune information flowed in his brain, and he seemed to have comprehended a trace of the true essence of the pure yang immortal technique. At this moment, his soul seemed to have turned into a dark red flame, and his brain was filled with a sea of flames. Crackle! In just an instant, the huge flames surrounded the demon, and in a few breaths' time, the demon was burned completely, and all the demonic chi was purified. With a bang, the demon disappeared completely, leaving behind only a golden crystal in his brain. At this moment, the entire lake shook, and a huge formation appeared in the void. Chains extended from the void, reaching deep into the lake, instantly suppressing devouring heaven demon venerable and pulling him to the deepest part. Damn human, I will never let you go. Don't think that this is the end. Devouring heaven demon venerable was extremely unwilling, and he let out a furious roar. Because this was an attack that he had accumulated for God knows how many years, but it had failed. Even the trace of his soul that he had left in Xia Ping's brain was destroyed, and he didn't know how heavy the loss was. Chapter 407. Bang, bang, bang. In the area outside the lake, the mountains shook and the soil tumbled. The demonic chi instantly became 10 times denser. Immediately, terrifying demonic ox demons appeared, numbering in the thousands. These demonic ox demons were even more terrifying than before. They were all at the second and third heavens of the martial practitioner realm. They were 4 meters tall and almost covered the entire area around the lake. Damn human, don't think that you can escape from this place just because you escaped my attack. Once you leave the range of this lake of life, you will definitely die without a burial place. Devouring heaven demon venerable roared. These demonic ox demons were all summoned from the dimensional space by him using a supreme secret technique. Each of them had extremely terrifying strength. Although he couldn't use any power to attack Xiaoping now, he could use the power of these demonic ox demons to crush this lowly human to death. This is a little troublesome. Xiaoping touched his chin. He also felt that the demonic ox demons outside the lake were eyeing him covetously. If it wasn't for the power of the life water, they would have already rushed in and devoured him. It was completely conceivable that if he left the lake, he would definitely die without a burial place. Looks like I can only completely advance to the martial master realm in this place. Xiaoping didn't have any fear. He had long been at the peak of the 9th heavens of the martial practitioner realm. He was just one step away from the martial master realm. Now that he had obtained a large amount of life water, he would definitely advance to the martial master realm after consuming this life water. Once he advanced to the martial master realm, his strength would definitely increase greatly. At that time, these demonic ox demons wouldn't be a threat. Walala, at this moment, Xiaoping sat cross-legged on the ground and immediately consumed a large amount of life water. Immediately, he felt an extremely abundant energy surging out of his body. It was as if every pore on his body was filled with rich energy and every cell was greedily devouring it. What a rich energy! Xiaoping was secretly amazed. Even the mysterious Yin pill, Dragon Tiger Rui pill, and other elixirs that he had consumed previously couldn't compare to the effect of this life water. This was simply life energy without any side effects. He immediately circulated the pure, yang, immortal art. The sun furnace in his dantian vibrated, and a large amount of life water surged in, transforming into a large amount of genuine qi and filling his entire dantian. Bang! When the genuine qi was extremely rich, a large amount of genuine essence gushed out from the depths of his dantian. A meridian in his body was instantly connected and surged like a great river. Martial Master Realm. At this moment, Xiaoping finally advanced to the Martial Master Realm. In the Martial Disciple Realm, one needed to open up 9 main meridians. However, in reality, there are not only 9 main meridians in the human body, but also 108 secondary meridians. These meridians were hidden in the deepest parts of the body. If one did not reach an extremely high realm, they would not be able to sense the existence of these secondary meridians. However, when humans reached the Martial Master Realm, they would be able to open up these secondary meridians. Once they opened up, they would be able to hold a large amount of quintessence, allowing their body to undergo an incredible evolution. their strength, speed, and even their soul would undergo a transformation. When all 108 minor meridians were connected, all 100 meridians would be connected. At that time, one would reach the peak of the martial master realm, and every move would have great power. Using water as a knife, condensing chi into a sword. This was the power possessed by a martial master realm expert. He could definitely fight against 1,000 soldiers. Rumble. At the instant he stepped into the martial master realm, the quintessence in the depths of Xia Ping's dantian rapidly transformed into quintessence. The quintessence in his entire body surged, as though lava was flowing through his limbs and bones. Right now, his entire body was surrounded by a gigantic ball of flames. Steam rose from the surroundings, emitting an incomparable heat like a volcano. Sun furnace condense. A cold light flashed in Xia Ping's eyes as sun runes revolved in the depths of his eyes. He could feel that the sun furnace in his body had finally condensed successfully. In the depths of his dantian, the phantom of a furnace appeared, emitting vast amounts of flames. It was as though everything in the world would be incinerated into nothingness if they were to pass through this mysterious furnace. Now that the sun furnace was formed, he could casually devour demonic cores, spirit herbs, and other spirit items. There was no need for him to use any other methods to purify them. My strength has increased as well. Xia Ping clenched his fists. When he broke through to the martial master realm, the cells, bones, and meridians in his body were all strengthened. One could say that his strength had increased by 2 to 3 times. Right now, he was simply like a human-shaped ferocious beast. With a light punch, he could move a kilometer away. The might of his punch was sufficient to penetrate a small mountain peak. My mental energy has also undergone a transformation. Xia Ping closed his eyes. He could also sense that his soul force had increased by quite a bit. A radius of 3 kilometers was completely enveloped by his mental energy. It was unknown how many times stronger it was compared to before. It can't be, right? How can my mental energy have increased by so much? No, that's not right. Even my soul force is stronger than before. Xia Ping opened his eyes as a cold light flashed in them. Originally, his soul talent was extremely high, more than 10 times that of ordinary people. But now, it had become even more terrifying. His soul force seemed to be 15 times that of ordinary people, and it was still increasing. This golden crystal, what exactly is it? Xia Ping very quickly noticed a golden crystal in the depths of his mind. This was a crystal left behind after the soul flames of the heaven-devouring demon, Venerable, burned his soul. And now, this crystal seemed to have melted as it emitted a golden aura. This aura nourished his soul and actually caused his soul force to strengthen unceasingly, becoming more and more corporeal. At this moment, the system spoke, "Congratulations, host, this is a soul crystal. It's extremely rare in the world, and its value is inestimable. It has the effect of strengthening one's soul force." Soul crystal? Xia Ping was shocked. He knew that anything that could strengthen one's soul force was an invaluable treasure. He had not expected that after defeating the heaven-devouring demon Venerable, there would be a soul crystal left behind. This was simply a fortune. If this soul crystal were to be taken out, probably even the kings of the entire human world would go crazy over it. Tiske, if this heaven-devouring demon Venerable knew that not only did he not kill me, but he also left behind such a great benefit, I'm afraid this heaven-devouring demon Venerable would go crazy from anger. Xia Ping was in a good mood. However, I can't continue to stay here. I'd better leave this place as soon as possible. Xia Ping also did not plan to continue angering the heaven-devouring demon Venerable. After all, who knew what kind of trump cards such a terrifying character had? Right now, he was just an insignificant martial master. There was no need for him to clash with this ancient demon Venerable. In the future, when he rose to the same level as the ancient demon Venerable, he would definitely teach him a lesson. Chapter 408. However, with so many demonic ox monsters gathered in this place, it will be a bit troublesome. Xiaoping came to the edge of the lake and looked at the demonic ox demons standing in the distance, glaring at him fiercely. It was as if his body would be torn to pieces as soon as he took a step forward. Furthermore, there were many of these demonic ox demons. They were densely packed all over the plains, numbering in the tens of thousands. Furthermore, their strength was continuously increasing, and their auras were gradually increasing. This was probably the devouring sky demon Venerable's doing. If these demonic ox demons advanced to the ninth heaven of the martial master realm, he would never have the chance to leave this place. Human, come out if you have the guts. Don't be a coward in there. Don't worry, we won't eat you raw after we come out. Everyone knows that we cows don't eat humans, we only eat grass. Don't hide in there. It won't do you any good, understand? One after another, the demonic ox demons cried out, hoping that Xiaoping would come out. They even tried to deceive Xiaoping by saying that they didn't eat humans. This was because they had received orders from the devouring heaven demon Venerable to kill this human. They did not dare to disobey this order. Moreover, if they succeeded in killing this damned human, they would definitely receive great benefits from the devouring heaven demon Venerable. Therefore, all of them wished that they could rush in and kill Xiaoping in an instant. Do you think I'm a fish on the chopping block that can be slaughtered however you want? Xiaoping rubbed his chin. He also knew the source of these demonic ox demons' confidence. It was nothing more than relying on their numbers. However, he couldn't continue to delay here. Otherwise, if the strength of these demonic bulls continued to increase, he would really be stuck in this place, unable to leave. Thinking about that, Xiaoping immediately took out a cup and filled it with water of life. Although Xiao Chun had consumed a significant amount of water of life to advance to the martial master realm, he had only consumed 1 liter. There was still 1 liter of water of life that he had not consumed, so he still had some left. Ha! Xiaoping stepped out of the lake's area of effect without hesitation. Seeing this, the demonic ox monsters were all overjoyed. Haha, stupid human. He really came out like a fool. Does he really think that we don't eat humans? Although we look like cows on the outside, we are also fiendish demons. We all eat meat. I wonder if the flesh and blood of such a stupid human is fragrant. Who cares? Don't think that I won't eat just because he's crazy. I'm not picky. One by one, the demonic ox demons roared loudly. They were extremely excited. They all held their giant axes and pounced forward, hoping to be the first to kill Xiaoping and obtain great merit. Courting death. A cold glint flashed across Xiaoping's eyes. In an instant, he poured out the cup of water of life. Next, he punched the air and a tyrannical fist force spread out. Shio, shio, shio. Immediately, the water of life was blasted away by the frightening fist energy. The water of life was wrapped in powerful true essence power and dispersed into drops of water of life. The drops of the water of life, wrapped in quintessence, simply turned into bullets shooting out in all directions. They were so fast that they simply tore through the air. In the blink of an eye, the cup of life water had turned into thousands of bullets. Bang, bang, bang. Those demonic ox monsters were caught off guard, and their bodies were hit by the bullet. Their hard armor couldn't withstand it at all, and the bullet instantly pierced through their bodies. For these demons, the water of life was like poison. Touching it meant certain death. Once the water of life fell on their bodies, it was like sulfuric acid, wildly corroding their bodies and turning them into a large amount of demonic chi. No matter how powerful they were, it was still the same. It was like an object that was their nemesis. One could imagine how destructive the water of life would be if it was shot out as a bullet. It was like having an extra demon-slaying weapon. Every bullet could reap the life of a demonic ox monster. Immediately, these demonic ox monsters let out shrill screams. Their hearts were blown up by the water of life bullets, and their bodies were torn apart. In just a few breaths' time, hundreds of demonic ox monsters had been killed. Their bodies were blasted into a bloody mess, and demonic cores flew out of their bodies. Xiaoping stepped forward and made a grabbing motion with his hand. Quintessence vibrated, and the scattered demonic cores were suddenly caught by him. He put them into his space ring obtaining 4 to 500 demonic cores. This was a huge harvest. Damn it, shameless humans. How dare you use the water of life to deal with us? How shameless. If you have the guts, let's fight one-on-one. Don't use the water of life as a weapon. One by one, the demonic ox monsters shouted. They were scared half to death. Seeing so many of their companions killed in an instant, they immediately felt that Xia Ping was an extremely dangerous human, especially when he held the water of life in his hand. This was simply a powerful weapon to deal with and kill them. This frightened them, and they all made way for him, not daring to block his way. Swoosh! Xia Ping took a strange step, and a pair of solid wings grew out of his back. These were the wings of a rock. His speed was unbelievably fast, and he rushed out. He did not care about the demonic ox monster's cries. The water of life was a precious resource. Using a little to deal with the demonic ox monsters made his heart ache. The only reason he had done this was to intimidate the other fiendish demons. Now that he had a chance to escape, he was naturally unwilling to take out the water of life again. At this moment, Xiaoping's speed had almost reached the peak of the first heaven of the martial master realm. He was like a rock, controlling the airflow. In a few breaths, he had crossed several kilometers. Even if the demonic ox monsters saw Xiaoping's figure, they could only watch him escape. They could not catch up at all. Don't let this human brat escape. Quickly chase after him, or I will take your lives. An earth-shattering roar came from the void. This was a supreme order. The demonic ox monsters were all scared half to death. They did not dare to hesitate at all. They madly chased after Xiaoping, trying to stop him from leaving. It's too late. Eat the dust on my butt. Xiaoping looked at the group of demonic ox monsters with disdain. When he used the Kuan Peng steps to the extreme, these demonic ox monsters could not catch up at all. With a swoosh, he quickly reached the edge of the mountain and came to the front of the energy barrier. He immediately rushed over, his body like a hurricane. However, the demonic ox monsters were not afraid. They actually followed Xiaoping and rushed out of the mountain. Chapter 409. At this time, a dense crowd of students appeared outside the mountain. These students had been attracted by the news spread by the azure-clothed man and the others. After all, the water of life was so important that every student present hoped to obtain it. Once they could swallow a large amount of the water of life, they could immediately change their aptitude, enhance their body's potential, and transform them into geniuses. In the future, they would even have a 30% chance of becoming a king realm expert. There were many examples before. Some seniors were originally unknown, but after they were lucky enough to obtain the water of life, they soared into the sky and became king realm experts. They could finally stand out and be respected by thousands. This mountain is the space where the water of life is. Yes, absolutely. Don't you see that this mountain is full of greenery and there are many plants living on it? Only the water of life can make such a miracle happen. Yes, this is the land of demons. The demonic chi is dense and lifeless. Not even a blade of grass grows here. Without the water of life, it is impossible for plants to survive here. Haha, after searching for so many days, we finally found the location of the water of life. Even the heavens are helping us. Many students were very excited. They stared at the mountain in front of them. They could not suppress their emotions at all. They could not wait to rush into the mountain and seize the water of life. These students included Nie Zhen, Chang Bin, Chou Wanqian, and the others. They had come after hearing the news. Even Su Ji, Xiao Yishuan, Mu Haoran, and the others had come. They were determined to obtain the water of life. But someone has already gone in. It seems that he wants to take everything for himself. Who is so arrogant to want to take everything for himself? Does he know how much he is worth? I asked around earlier. That person's name is Wu Wudi. What an arrogant name. He dares to call himself Wu Wudi. He really thinks we're fake. In short, when this kid comes out, it's fine if he doesn't get the water of life. Once he does, we'll immediately make him hand it over. How can we let others take such a treasure? If he's not satisfied, we'll cripple him and let him know what's good for him. Many students discussed animatedly. Their expressions were extremely ferocious and murderous. When the green-robed man and the others saw this, they were all overjoyed. With so many students here, they believed that no matter how powerful Wu Wuti was, he would not be able to suppress everyone. However, they were also a little worried. With so many people gathered here, it wouldn't be easy for them to fish in troubled waters. Strange. Where is that shit-stirrer Xiaoping? Why can't I see him anywhere? Suji curiously looked around. Her eyes rolled around, but she couldn't find Xiaoping's location. But normally, this brat would commit all sorts of crimes, and his favorite thing to do was to add fuel to the fire. He would make a big fuss out of small matter, and when the big matter got out of hand, he would get involved in all sorts of bad things. But now, there was no trace of Xiaoping, which made her feel very strange, wondering if the sky was going to change color. In short, it's best if this kid doesn't show up. Once he does, he'll definitely turn the world upside down. The complexions of Mu Howren and the others darkened. All of them clenched their fists tightly as they thought of Xiaoping, that super scourge. Although they had all advanced to the martial master realm and their strength had increased by several times, they still felt a lingering fear when they faced Xiaoping. Boss, Miaoze really has no discipline. We haven't seen him in a few days. Did he forget boss's orders and run around? They don't even know what it means to be superior. A nearby student said unhappily. He was one of Niezhin's lackeys. That's right. He hasn't appeared for such a long time. He even forgot the boss's orders. What's the use of such an unruly person? When he comes back, we'll directly remove him from our circle. We'll let him know how powerful we are. Another student with a crew cut clenched his fist with a ferocious expression. But he hasn't come back for so long. Could he have been killed by demons? Some students' eyes flickered. They suspected that Miaoze was already dead. That is indeed a possibility. The students who followed Miaoze this time did not appear either. We can't contact any of them. This situation is very strange. Previously, I heard that he was chasing after Yanwan University's Xiaoping. That's why he brought people to wander around the cloud, Mist Mountain Range. He did not even look for the water of life. But now he has disappeared. I wonder if he was killed by Xiaoping. Impossible. No matter how bold that Xiaoping is, he would not dare to harm a sovereign clan unless he wants to die. The eyes of a few students flickered as they made many guesses. It's good that he's dead. Miaoze is arrogant and unruly. He always thinks highly of himself because he is a descendant of a sovereign clan. He even flirts with the people of other factions. He is definitely an ingrate. I've tolerated him for a long time. A black-clothed student was very unhappy. He had not liked Miaoze for a long time. You can't say that. Miaoze is one of us after all. Before he betrayed us, he was one of us. If he was really killed, we have to investigate it thoroughly. Otherwise, how can we convince everyone? If Miaoze is really dead, the entire Miao clan will probably be shocked. At that time, there will definitely be big trouble. If the Miao clan takes their anger out on us, we will be in big trouble. Nonsense. The Miao clan is nothing. Once the boss speaks, I guarantee that they will all be scared like quails. A dozen or so students shouted. They were extremely arrogant and looked down on everyone. All right, shut up, Niezhin said. Let's put the matter of Miaoze aside for now. We have no way of knowing whether he is dead or alive. Right now, the most important thing is to find the water of life. Later, all of you will follow me in and fight for the water of life. Don't drop the ball. He stared at everyone, exuding endless pressure. But it seems that a guy called Wu Wuti went in. I think he has already gotten there first. I heard that the amount of water of life obtained each time is limited. Once it is taken away, even if someone else goes in later, they will not be able to obtain it and will be expelled. Then let's capture that Wu Wuti and kill him. Then, won't the water of life on him belong to us? Not bad. That's a good idea. Only our Ares College can obtain the water of life. If any other school dares to reach out, we will chop off their hands. The group of people were filled with killing intent, ignoring everything. Niezhin's expression was indifferent. In order to obtain the water of life, he did not mind killing a few people. Look, someone is coming out from that mountain. Chapter 410. It's Wu Wuti. Yes, it's that kid. I can recognize him even if he turns into ashes." The man in green and the others immediately shouted. They had also recognized Xiaoping, who had run out from that mountain peak. That kid finally came out. I wonder if he got the water of life? Capture him and we'll know everything after a thorough investigation. Many of the students had a cold look in their eyes. To any cultivator, the water of life was an extremely important treasure. No matter what methods they used, they had to obtain it. Some students have been stuck at the martial artist's ninth heaven for 3 years just to obtain the water of life. They had wasted 3 years of their time. One could imagine how much they desired such a treasure. No, that's not right. It's not just Wu Wudi who came out. Some students quickly discovered the fiendish demons behind Xiaoping and immediately shouted, "Demonic ox demons!" A group of demonic ox demons has also come out. Everyone was shocked. They saw a group of demonic ox demons behind Xiaoping. There were hundreds and thousands of them, and each of them had the strength of a martial master. Each of them was 3 to 4 meters tall and held huge axes in their hands. They had an astonishing aura. When they ran, they were like an army. The earth shook and the mountains shook. They were like super tanks. Anything that dared to stand in the way of these demonic ox demons will be crushed to pieces. Those demonic ox demons seemed to be chasing after Wu Wudi. What exactly did this kid do? Some people were dumbfounded. They had entered the mountain peaks before. However, although there were fiendish demons in those peaks, they would not chase after them. As long as they left, the fiendish demons would stop and stay in the space of the mountain peaks. But now, when this kid left, a group of demonic ox demons chased after him. Their eyes were red, and they emitted a shocking, murderous aura. It was as if they would not rest until one of them died. Look at the red eyes of these bulls. They're so angry. Did this kid seduce the wives of these demonic ox demons? Damn, if that's really the case, I have to say that this guy has a really strong taste. He can even make a move like this. He's really hungry. He can have an affair, even though he's of a different race. He's too amazing. Don't talk nonsense here. That guy is rushing towards us. Why is he rushing towards us? Is he crazy? What else could it be? He's obviously trying to divert the trouble. Run. Instantly, the faces of the group of students changed. They saw Xiaoping rushing towards them at an extremely fast speed. If this was an ordinary situation, they wouldn't care. Instead, they would be secretly delighted. They wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to capture Xiaoping and investigate him to find the water of life. The problem was that this guy was being chased by a group of demonic ox demons. If this kid rushed over, wouldn't he also bring these demonic ox demons with him? This bastard clearly wanted to drag them down with him. He wanted to kill them. Whoosh! Xiaoping was too lazy to care about what these students were thinking. When he saw so many elite students gathered here, he immediately knew that this was a great opportunity. With these cannon fodder blocking the way, the demonic ox demons would not be able to continue their rampage, and he could also take advantage of this opportunity to quickly escape or even fish in troubled waters. Humans, when did so many humans gather here? They must be the helpers of that bastard human. Let's kill them together. This is a feast. Today, I'm going to roast all these humans. The demonic ox demons were extremely excited. Large amounts of white gas came out of their nostrils, and all the blood in their bodies boiled. They also attacked the humans around them. Originally, humans and demons were mortal enemies. When they saw each other, they would start fighting. There was absolutely no reason to ease up. Many students did not say anything. They also felt the threat of these demonic ox demons. One by one, they made their moves. Some took out swords, some took out broadswords, and some took out spears to fight the demonic ox demons. Bang, bang, bang. Immediately, the two forces collided with each other like two torrents, producing intense sparks. The weapons clashed, and it was as if two armies were fighting. She vibrated and rumbled. The demonic ox demons that were chasing Xiaoping were also blocked. Xiaoping's speed of escape became even faster. Kid, stop. I have something to ask you. Suddenly, an angry roar was heard. It was like the roar of a lion, and the surrounding mountains were shaking. The person who made the sound was Chong Bin of Heavenly Deity Academy. He had the bloodline of the fire lion. His red hair flew up, and his feet cracked the ground. He was like an angry lion. He slapped out his palm mercilessly and overbearingly, trying to stop Xiaoping. Changbin had a stomach full of questions about the water of life and the situation inside the mountain. Therefore, he wanted to stop Xiaoping and interrogate him. However, Xiaoping did not have the time to talk to Changbin. He was in a hurry to escape. Get lost. With a bang, Xiaoping instantly took out his sword and slashed down. It contained a terrifying power of spiritual ether. It was as if this sword could even split the sky. Dong! The power of this sword hit Chang Bin's body solidly. It was like a flood had erupted in an instant. It contained the power to destroy everything, and the entire air exploded. How is this possible? Chang Bin was immediately shocked. As the #1 expert of Heavenly Deity Academy, he had the bloodline of the Fire Lion. His strength was unparalleled, and he was overbearing and invincible. In terms of strength alone, no one in the same generation was a match for him. A punch could even collapse a small mountain. This was the invincible power of the Lion King. However, when he received this sword with his bare hands, he felt an irresistible force. It was so powerful that it instantly destroyed the defense in his body, and the air exploded inch by inch. Bang! Changbin was immediately caught off guard. His entire body was sent flying without any resistance. He flew for a full kilometer before finally smashing into a huge rock that was more than 10 meters tall. With a few cracking sounds, his body was forcibly sunk in. Gravel flew everywhere, and countless cracks appeared. He could not help but cough up a mouthful of blood. His internal organs were severely injured. Even the ground was shaken by such power. 2 or 3 terrifying cracks appeared, extending hundreds of meters. The area within a radius of 3 kilometers was shaking. No way. Is this Wu Wuti a monster? That's Chang Bin with the bloodline of the Fire Lion. He was sent flying with a single sword. It's so terrifying. What is the background of this Wu Wuti? How did he obtain this power? Everyone was shocked. They had never expected this to happen. They had thought that Chang Bin would intercept him, and this kid would not have any chance to escape. Chapter 411. Stop right there. Not all the martial artists were frightened. At least Cho Wanxian from the Black and White College was not. When he saw Wu Wuti send Chang Bin flying with one strike, his pupils constricted and he seemed to be a little shocked. However, he reacted quickly and immediately attacked. He pulled out his sword and attacked Xiaoping. Swoosh! The sword slashed down and sword chi filled the air. It contained black and white sword chi, like the fusion of yin and yang. It contained the aura of life and death and was extremely terrifying. Even the surrounding students were in awe of this sword. It was as if as long as they stood in front of such sword chi, their entire bodies would disintegrate inch by inch. Don't block the way. Xiaoping also slashed with his sword. The quintessential essence in his body boiled like lava. A terrifying sword chi blasted out like a real dragon, roaring in the void. Bang! The 2 sword chi collided and sparks flew everywhere. Chi vibrated as if 2 real dragons were fighting each other. What? Cho Wanxian was also shocked. Although he did not use all his strength in this sword, it was not something that an ordinary first heaven martial master could withstand. However, Wu Wuti casually slashed with his sword and released a terrifying sword chi, easily defeating his attack. Dong! Xiaoping slashed with his sword again. The sword chi condensed and cut through the air, containing a torrent of power. Oh no! Cho Wanxian was caught off guard. He did not expect Xiaoping's attack to be so fast. He was unable to resist the sword and was slashed on his body. With a boom, his body flew backward for a kilometer before smashing into a mountain wall, creating a human-shaped crater and sending rocks flying in all directions. Everyone was shocked. This guy was too abnormal. Even Cho Wanxian from the Black and White College could not withstand one move from him and was directly sent flying with one strike. Although he did not display any exquisite swordsmanship, the brute force of his swordsmanship alone was enough to suppress countless experts and peerless geniuses. One had to know that Chou Wanxian was a famous swordsmanship genius. It could be said that his swordsmanship was divine. When he slashed with his sword chi filled the air and was enough to split a mountain. It was extremely terrifying. But now, it was actually defeated by Wu Wudi. One could imagine the shock of the surrounding students. Another peerless genius has appeared. Who exactly is this Wu Wudi? Su Ji and the others looked solemn. They could tell how powerful Wu Wudi was. Each and every one of his movements was filled with great power. It was as if there was a peerless, ferocious beast living in the depths of his body. Anyone who dared to stand in his way would be completely crushed. Su Ji could not help but wonder if Wu Wudi could match up to that *T-stir, Xiaoping. Those who stand in my way shall die. Xiaoping bellowed and brandished the sword in his hand. Sword chi burst out like a flood dragon, and each of the sword chi contained a terrifying power. The students who were standing in front of Xiaoping were all terrified to the extreme as they tried to avoid him. However, some unlucky students were not fast enough and were struck by the sword chi. Their bodies were sent flying like sandbags, flying for 2 to 3 kilometers before they fell to the ground, smashed into a bloody mess. Immediately, dozens of students had their arms and legs broken. They fell to the ground and wailed crazily. They were all students who had been sent flying by Xiaoping, and their faces were filled with pain. In just a breath's time, those who dared to stand in Xiaoping's way were all swept away, and an empty space appeared. Let's go. Xiaoping did not care about the anger of the students who had been sent flying. He stomped on the ground and immediately created a huge pit. The ground was densely packed with cracks, and the forest shook. With a boom, his feet produced a terrifying propulsion force. The air exploded, and his entire body was like a rocket shooting up into the sky. He controlled the airflow and flew into the distance. In an instant, Xiaoping's body was 2 to 3 kilometers away from his original spot. With a few vertical and horizontal leaps, he quickly left the area without looking back. Damn it, that bastard really got away. There's nothing we can do. He's simply a monster. We can't stop him. Even experts like Chou Wanwan and Changbin were sent flying with one move. What do we do? This kid must have obtained the water of life. Otherwise, why would he run away so desperately? So what if we know? We can't catch up with him at all. Where did this sword principal expert come from? Why have I never heard of his name? There's so many hidden dragons and crouching tigers in the Cloud Realm, and some of them are also hidden among the people. It's normal not to know. Many students gritted their teeth and were very unwilling, but they could not keep up with their speed. They could only watch Xiaoping leave the place, and his back disappeared from their sight. Damn it! With a bang, Changbin struggled out of the rubble. His face was extremely gloomy. He was sent flying by a sword. He was sent flying like a stone in the way, and he had no power to resist. For Changbin, who claimed to be the #1 expert, this was simply an irremovable shame. He was extremely angry and punched the ground, instantly creating a deep pit. Wu Wudi, Chou Wanwan also walked out of the rubble. His white clothes were still spotless. He held the long sword in his hand, and his clothes fluttered without any wind. His eyes were calm, but they emitted a more and more terrifying chill. Those who knew him knew that this was the moment when Chou Wanwan was truly angry. Whoever provoked him at this time would be in big trouble. A little interesting. In the distance, Niezhan's eyes revealed a trace of coldness. He ordered a subordinate next to him. Chase after him. Follow this Wu Wudi. We must not let him escape. He was very interested in this Wu Wudi, whether it was his strength or the water of life in his body. Yes, young Master Nya. A skinny student cupped his hands. His body was like a wisp of green smoke, and he instantly chased after the area where Xiaoping disappeared. His speed was extremely terrifying. The nearby students could not see the student's figure as he left. They immediately knew that this skinny student was definitely an expert who was proficient in speed and had amazing talent. There's no other way. Although Wu Wudi ran away, there's still the spring of life here. Kill these demonic ox demons, and let them see the power of human elites. Once we enter this mountain space, we can obtain the water of life. This is really great. Kill, kill, kill. Although Xiaoping had run away, many students did not chase after him because the most important thing now was the water of life. As long as they killed these demons, they could enter the mountain space and obtain the water of life. Bang! Bang! Chapter 412. 3 days later, in the center of the cloud, mist mountain range, many students received the news and rushed towards the mountain peak where the water of life was. They all tried to fight for the water of life to enhance their physical potential. However, when they were about to arrive, they saw the students returning dejectedly. Someone immediately asked what was going on. A large number of fiendish demons had appeared on the mountain peak where the water of life was located. There were at least 70 to 80,000 fiendish demons. Even the fiendish demons were extremely powerful. There were many fiendish demons at the 3rd and 4th heaven of the Martial Master Realm. Some had even reached the 9th heaven of the Martial Master Realm. Many talents tried to break in, but all returned in failure. Some even lost their lives in there. There were countless casualties. Many students wanted to join forces, but they were no match for the fiendish demons. Instead, they were defeated by the fiendish demons inside. Lambert was strong, so they could only retreat and give up on the water of life. No way. Even Cho Wanwan, Changbin, and Niezhun couldn't get the water of life? Someone was shocked and felt that it was unbelievable. Someone shook his head and said, although Niezhun and the others are powerful, they have only just entered the Martial Master Realm. They are far from being able to fight against the fiendish demons at the 9th heaven of the Martial Master Realm. They tried a few times and were almost killed by the fiendish demons. Then they chose to retreat. They entered a treasure mountain but returned empty-handed. He was very unwilling and desperately wanted to get the water of life. However, there were countless fiendish demons guarding that place, and they could do nothing. Even if many students joined forces, they could not break through. Moreover, he was still young and did not want to lose his life because of this. After all, there were countless treasures and resources in the world, not just the water of life. Even an expert like Niezhun couldn't get the water of life. It seems that no one who entered the cloud, Mist Mountain Range this time, will be able to get the water of life. Someone sighed. Someone shook his head and said, no, no, no. Someone still got the water of life. It can't be. With a fiendish demon at the 9th heaven of the Martial Master Realm guarding it, someone actually managed to snatch food from the tiger's mouth? Who was that person? Many people were shocked and felt that it was unbelievable. That person is called Wu Wudi. I heard that he was the first to enter the mountain and obtain the water of life. However, it's not that he's invincible or that his strength is above everyone else's. He's just lucky. When he entered, the demons weren't that strong, so he could easily obtain the water of life. It is said that it is precisely because this bastard obtained the water of life that he angered the taboo, causing the strength of the fiendish demons to continuously increase. In the end, a fiendish demon army appeared, preventing us from entering. That damned Wu Wudi, that ** star took everything for himself. He was so full of himself and gained so many benefits, but he ended up like this. We can't go in and get the water of life. Many of them gritted their teeth, feeling extremely resentful towards Wu Wudi. If not for the fact that this * star had angered some taboo and caused the demon's strength to change drastically, they would not have looked at the treasure mountain in front of them helplessly. If Wu Wudi were in front of them, they would not hesitate to fight him to the death. However, Wu Wudi will definitely not have a good ending. As the saying goes, an innocent man gets into trouble because of his wealth. Someone sneered. So many of us didn't obtain the water of life. He's the only one who obtained it. You can imagine how many people will be jealous of him. I heard that many geniuses want to settle scores with Wu Wudi. It's not just settling scores. They even want to kill Wu Wudi. Niezhun, Cho Wanxian, Changbin, and the others have all set out to find Wu Wudi. Once they find Wu Wudi, he will definitely die. Even the water of life on him will be snatched away. It can be said that Wu Wudi is already a target of public criticism. Countless students have set up an inescapable net. He can't escape. Everyone discussed animatedly. They also hoped to find Wu Woody and snatch the water of life from him. Then, such a great opportunity would belong to them. At that moment, in a valley in the middle of the cloud, mist mountain range, Xiaoping appeared in this place. He had been running for 3 days in order to leave the center of the cloud, mist mountain range. After all, he had already obtained the water of life. Even if he stayed in this place, he would not benefit much. It was better to leave. However, the area of the central region was too large. He was also too deep in. Even after running for several days, he had not completely left the central region. Come out. Suddenly, Xiaoping stopped in his tracks. A cold light flashed in his eyes as he looked into the distance. Sneaky scoundrels. You've been following me for a day. What do you want? He felt a murderous aura coming from the nearby valley. Many people were planning to ambush him. Swoosh! Swoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, 20 to 30 students appeared around the valley. They appeared in front of Xiaoping in an instant. Their eyes revealed a cold, murderous aura that sent shivers down one's spine. All of them were experts in the first heaven of the martial master realm. They exuded a powerful aura. Wu Woody, a tall student, revealed a cold smile. We've been looking for you for many days. Now that we've finally found you, the heavens really do not disappoint those who wait. We won't talk nonsense with you. Immediately hand over the water of life on you. That way, you can live. Otherwise, you'll definitely die today. A group of students stared at Xiaoping and surrounded him, not giving him any chance to escape. Stupid. Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. I don't know where you got this wrong information. I don't have any water of life on me. If you scram now, I can still forgive you. Otherwise, you'll regret it for the rest of your lives. He did not even admit that he had the water of life on him. Shut up. You're clearly the first person to enter. How could you not have the water of life? You're full of lies. It really makes me laugh. Whether you have the water of life or not, we'll know after a thorough investigation. Immediately kneel and beg for mercy. Hand over everything on you and let us investigate. If you don't have it, we'll let you leave safely. If you do, you're lying. This matter will not be so simple. Many students shouted angrily. They did not believe Xiaoping's words at all. Nonsense. Just kill him and get the treasure from his corpse. I don't believe that a dead man can lie. A man in yellow sneered. He held a large saber in his hand. Chapter 413. You want to kill me? Are you qualified to do so? A cold light flashed in Xiaoping's eyes. He would never show mercy to these people who wanted to kill him. With a clang, he pulled out a sword from his waist and slashed at the man. Swoosh! In an instant, a terrible sword radiance flashed like the brightest light in the night, like a shooting star, and slashed at the man in yellow. Oh no! Feeling the threatening sword chi, the man in yellow's face changed, and his whole body was filled with a sense of life or death crisis. However, the speed of the sword chi was so fast that he could not dodge it all. With a puff, the sword chi slashed at him, and his whole body was cut in half from the middle. The cut was smooth, and blood spurted out like a fountain, staining the ground red. His body was split in half, and his eyes were wide open. Before he died, there was fear, unwillingness, and disbelief in his eyes, as if he could not believe that he had been killed just like that. Damn it, this bastard dared to kill Brother Chun. Go, everyone go together and kill this damn bastard. Bastard, how dare he kill someone? He wants to die, he wants to die. Seeing the man in yellow killed with a sword and his body cut in half, the group of students were stunned and their lungs were about to explode. They did not expect such a thing to happen. After all, they outnumbered Xiaoping and he was alone. No matter how they looked at it, they had the absolute advantage. Ordinary people would have been scared to the point of kneeling and begging for mercy. How could they resist? However, this damn bastard not only dared to resist, but also dared to kill someone. He killed one of their companions with a sword. They could not accept such a result. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Some of them were holding long spears, some are holding sabers, some are holding long swords, and some are barehanded. Every one of them was an expert of the martial master realm. They had reached the realm of holding water into a sword and condensing chi into a saber. In an instant, thousands of forces shook. Ordinary martial masters at the first heaven of the martial master realm would be crushed by this force. Even a small mountain could be flattened in an instant. Four Seasons swordsmanship, summer scorch. In that instant, Xiaoping immediately unleashed the second form of the Four Seasons swordplay, summer scorching flames. As he slashed out with his sword, hundreds and thousands of rays of sword chi exploded forth, as if a scorching sun was enveloping the area. Every strand of sword chi contained a terrifying flame, and the surrounding temperature rose by hundreds, even thousands of degrees. Such a temperature could even melt steel into liquid and completely melt. The students immediately felt extremely hot, and large amounts of sweat poured out of their bodies. Even their clothes seemed to be on fire. Bang, bang, bang. In the air, countless streams of energy collided, like hundreds of volcanoes erupting, emitting earth-shattering explosions that contained terrifying power. Deep craters immediately appeared on the ground, and the flames spread, burning the weeds and soil in the surroundings. The area within a kilometer was filled with the flames, and it had the power to burn everything within 1,000 kilometers. Some martial masters were caught off guard and were immediately hit by this sword chi. The terrifying flaming sword chi instantly pierced through their bodies, melting a big hole in their chests. One by one, they fell to the ground, their hearts pierced by the flaming sword chi. These flames were extremely terrifying, and in a few breaths, their bodies were burned to ashes. How is this possible? The remaining students were dumbfounded. Their bodies were trembling. Just a single sword strike had killed half of their people. Such a sword technique was terrifying to the point of being a complete mess. Especially these flames, once they touched them, it seemed that they could not escape. They would not stop until their bodies were burned to ashes. In fact, these flames also contained a trace of the power of Xia Ping's pure yang immortal skill, which also caused the power of the second move of the Four Seasons sword technique to be unusually terrifying. Whoosh! Xiaoping stood there, feeling the surging genuine essence in his body. As he fought with these martial masters, his genuine essence surged, and the energy of the water of life in his body was constantly refined and transformed into genuine essence in his dantian. With a bang, the second minor meridian in his body was opened, and a large amount of genuine essence rushed in like lava. The genuine essence in his body was also strengthened. He felt that his cells, bones, meridians, and other parts of his body were all being nourished by the genuine essence. They were rapidly becoming stronger, and the momentum of his body was also rapidly increasing. As long as the 12 minor meridians were opened and the genuine essence was formed, he would reach the peak of the first heaven of the martial master realm, and he could quickly break through to the second heaven of the martial master realm. Go to hell! Xia Ping shouted angrily, and the sound waves rolled like the roar of a lion. The terrifying sound waves could be heard within a radius of 10 kilometers, and the whole earth was shaking at this moment. Some of the martial master realm students in the distance were all shaken to the point that their blood and chi were surging. Their eardrums were shattered, and they were bleeding from their 7 orifices. Damn it, this guy is too strong. Run, go back and call for help. He is not a match at all. This bastard is simply a monster. The remaining students were terrified. They endured the injuries in their bodies and fled into the distance, no longer having the courage to fight with Xiaoping. The first move of the Four Seasons sword technique, continuous spring rain. Xiaoping's eyes revealed a trace of coldness, and he slashed with his sword. The genuine essence vibrated, and dense raindrops appeared in the sky. These raindrops were condensed by sword chi. A spring aura permeated the surroundings, sweeping across a radius of a few miles. It was as if all things were reviving, and the spring rain was nourishing the earth. Even the weather seemed to have changed at this moment. However, these students did not feel any joy. Their faces were pale with fear. They only felt a chill throughout their bodies, and every raindrop contained a fatal, killing intent. Kill! Xiaoping slashed down with his sword. These raindrops fell from the sky like meteors, and their speed was unbelievably fast. They smashed down in an instant, accurately attacking these students. Bang, bang, bang! In a few breaths, these students were hit by the sword chi raindrops. Their bodies were directly pierced, and countless bloody holes appeared. It was as if they had been shot by bullets. They screamed, but there was nothing they could do. Even the weapons in their hands were shattered, turning into a pile of scrap iron. Even the ground was smashed by the sword chi raindrops. With a boom, densely packed pits appeared within a radius of a kilometer. It was like the surface of the moon. The soil was tumbling, and the ground was shaking, as if it had encountered a natural disaster. So far, these students were all killed. Xiaoping went forward and collected the pills and spiritual medicine that these students had dropped. Although their value was not as high as the water of life, it was still a good harvest. It could help him strengthen the power of his genuine essence. Chapter 414. Another day passed, and Xiaoping sprinted towards the outskirts of the central region. He arrived at a plain, and it seemed like it wouldn't be long before he left the central region. Swoosh! At that moment, a spear shot out from afar. It was extremely fast, tearing through the air. It carried an extremely terrifying power and attacked Xiaoping's body. Xiaoping felt the threat of this spear. His hair stood on end. His body flashed, and he immediately dodged it as fast as lightning. With a thud, the spear smashed into the ground in front of Xiaoping. It immediately created a deep pit with a diameter of 5 meters. Soil flew everywhere, and terrifying cracks appeared. The spear was stuck in the ground, and its tail was still buzzing and trembling. What a lingering ghost! Xiaoping stopped and narrowed his eyes. He felt a dozen figures quickly chasing in front of him. They appeared in front of him one by one and blocked his way. The person in the lead was Niezhen. The other 13 people were his subordinates. All of them had the strength of the first heaven of the martial mentor realm. They all stared at Xiaoping fiercely. Wuwudi, we finally caught up with you. Don't think that you can escape. Hand over the water of life immediately. Otherwise, you won't be able to escape today. If you know what's good for you, immediately kneel and surrender. If you force us to attack you, you will end up miserable. With us here, you can't escape. You have killed many people in the Cloud Mist Mountain. This is a serious crime. Surrender immediately. The dozen students stared at Xiaoping, and their bodies emitted a terrifying murderous aura. They were like a pack of wolves, and their eyes were red. They did not hesitate to state their purpose. Do you think you could be so presumptuous here? Xiaoping looked at this group of people indifferently. These days, there are many people like you who don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. However, you should know very well what happened to them. If you want to attack me, you should consider your own strength. He clenched his fists. These days, countless flies had swarmed around him and tried to snatch the water of life from him. However, without exception, they were all repelled or killed by him. The faces of the group of students changed. They had also heard of the achievements of these invincible martial artists in the sky martial arts realm. They were extremely ferocious. Countless people had died in their hands, even the martial mentor realm students. The other party's accomplishments were built on the bones of their enemies. They were not to be underestimated. However, they were also proud geniuses with astonishing talent. Just this alone was not enough to scare them away. After all, the power of the life water was just too great. Measure my own strength? Niezhen seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world. Do you think that you are invincible just because you killed a few ants? Do you think that no one can stop you? If I, Niezhen, want to kill you, it would be a piece of cake. His expression was arrogant. Even though he had heard of Xiaoping's battle achievements, he was still extremely confident, believing that his strength was above countless experts. This was the confidence of a king clan. Xiaoping stood with his hands clasped behind his back. He did not seem to care at all. He said indifferently, "You think you are the best in the world when it comes to bragging? When it comes to a real fight, you, Niezhen, are just a fake. I can defeat you with just a few punches and kicks." Impudent. Who are you calling inferior goods? Do you know who you are talking to? Do you understand the rules at all? A student beside him shouted angrily, glaring at Xiaoping. He was loyal to his master. Defeat you with just a few punches and kicks? You are too arrogant, actually daring to offend Big Brother Nie's dignity. Kneel down and apologize immediately. Otherwise, even if you flee to the ends of the world, no one will be able to save you. A student with triangular eyes cursed loudly. I wonder how this brat's parents raised him. He really doesn't know how to appreciate favors. Since you don't know what manners are, let me teach you. Another student with a flat-top haircut immediately attacked, slapping Xiaoping's face ruthlessly. Noisy. A cold light flashed in Xiaoping's eyes. He took a step forward, moving as fast as lightning. In an instant, he crossed 100 meters and slapped out with his palm. The air trembled and quintessential energy condensed. With a bang, the flat-top haircut student's face took a solid slap. With a miserable cry, he was sent flying, spinning 5 or 6 times in the air. Even a few of his teeth had been knocked out. Then, he smashed into the ground, unable to say anything. White foam came out of his mouth, and his eyes rolled back. He collapsed on the ground, twitching like a leper. Everyone's pupils shrank. This was the first time they felt the power of Xiaoping's attack. That was the shadow of a person's life. It was definitely not an undeserved reputation. Xiaoping cast a sidelong glance at them. Keep shouting. Let's see if I could take your dog lives. Bastard. The group of people went crazy. They were so angry that their lungs were about to explode. They were angry and hateful. They could also hear the sarcasm in Xiaoping's words. He was clearly calling them dogs, Niezhen's lackeys. Too impudent. An angry shout rang out. Bang! As soon as he finished speaking, a cold light flashed in Niezhen's eyes. He suddenly attacked, punching out. A series of air explosions appeared around his arm, and a terrifying force erupted. He attacked from a distance of more than 100 meters. The power of this punch was extremely terrifying. It was like the roar of a wolf king. The force in the air almost condensed into a substance. The fist was like a seal, and even the ground shook at this moment. Xiaoping also attacked in an instant. He slashed out with his sword. Sword chi condensed, and it was indestructible. Boom! The fist force and the sword chi collided, and the air shook thousands of times. Immediately, a huge crater was formed in the ground. Soil flew everywhere, and the surrounding weeds were all turned into powder. Many students were shocked. Although they had heard of Xiaoping's achievements in the past few days, they only realized how terrifying Wu Wudi was when he actually fought. He was extraordinary. Wolf Fang Fist. Niezhen shouted angrily and punched out repeatedly. Fist prints appeared in midair, and the roar of a wolf king could be heard in the void. The fist force was as sharp as teeth, penetrating everything. In just a few seconds, he had punched out more than 100 times. It was as if 100 hungry wolves had appeared and were attacking Xiaoping with all their might. They wanted to bite him to death. The third form of the Four Seasons sword technique, rustling autumn wind. Xiaoping was not to be outdone. He displayed the third form of the Four Seasons sword technique. At this moment, he swung his sword. At this moment, the entire plain seemed to be filled with the aura of the autumn wind. It was filled with a murderous aura, and an extremely cold temperature descended. It was as if this aura could wither everything and take away the lives of countless living beings. With a slash of the sword, the weeds on the plain rapidly withered. Countless sword chi slashed out, carrying the aura of death, and bombarded Niezhen. Bang, bang, bang. Chapter 4:15. The dozen or so students who were watching the battle were also caught off guard. The force spread out in all directions, and their bodies were also hit by the powerful airflow. One by one, they let out blood-curdling screams as they were sent flying. How was this possible? What kind of sword chi is this? Many students were shocked. It was just the remnant power of the sword chi, but they felt an extremely lonely sword chi invade their bodies and enter their organs. Moreover, this sword chi could exterminate all life force. Even with the power of quintessential essence to resist it, they felt as if their life force was constantly being weakened. Immediately, 2 or 3 students could not resist the invasion of the terrifying sword chi. They immediately spat out a large mouthful of blood and fell to the ground, twitching, their faces pale. In a few breaths, they died on the spot. Their bodies were grayish-white like dried corpses. The energy in their bodies had been completely plundered by the lonely sword chi, leaving nothing behind. This was the autumn sword technique of the Four Seasons sword technique, bleak autumn wind. When the sword slashed out, all things would wither and reap the lives of countless creatures. It was filled with killing intent, and was the move with the strongest killing intent. Once it was used, it would kill the enemy, annihilate the entire clan, and would not rest until the enemy was dead. Wolf Fong Fist, sweeping the world. Niaijin shouted angrily. He did not care about his companions around him. His eyes only had Xia Ping's existence. He clenched his fists, and his body emitted an extremely terrifying aura. At this moment, a large amount of black hair surged out of his body. Even his head changed into the shape of a wolf, and the bloodline power in his body boiled. Rumble! In an instant, he blasted out hundreds of fist prints. Each fist print was like an ancient wolf king. The force had already condensed into a substance, and it roared in the grassland, shaking the world. The terrifying force swept in all directions, and the ground trembled at this moment. The area within a radius of several kilometers was within the attack range. The airflow was fearful, and it was like a void turbulence, tearing everything apart. Four Seasons sword technique, winter snow. Xia Ping immediately performed the winter sword technique. With a slash, the world changed, and the surrounding temperature plummeted. The moisture in the air quickly condensed into snow. Endless snow fell from the sky, and each snowflake gave off a dazzling light. It looked incredibly beautiful, as if it was a G realm. However, the nearby students were scared half to death. They could feel the extreme chill contained in these snowflakes. Once they touched them, they would immediately be frozen to death by the chill of the snowflakes. Even their blood would freeze. It looked beautiful, but contained a fatal danger. Kill! Xia Ping slashed down with his sword. Countless snowflakes fell from the sky. Under the control of true essence, they condensed into snowballs. They immediately fell from the sky like meteors. They were extremely fast and had the power to shatter the earth. Bang, bang, bang. These snowballs fell and blasted towards Niezhan. They attacked the fist imprints and instantly turned the fist imprints into dust, leaving nothing behind. There were even large snowflakes falling from the sky. It was as if stars were falling from the sky, containing the power to destroy the world. Niezhan could not withstand it and was instantly smashed by these snowballs. His body felt as if it had been attacked by stars. Even his strong physique could not withstand it. His lungs were severely injured, and he could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. These snowballs even contained extreme chill. It was as if they were alive. They immediately invaded Niezhan's body, wanting to freeze his blood into ice cubes and reap his life. Too strong. The surrounding students were shocked. This showed Wu Wudi's combat strength. With one slash, he could change the weather. This power was not something an ordinary martial master could achieve. He was clearly a peerless genius. Die! Xia Ping's eyes flashed coldly. He slashed down again, not giving Niezhan any time to breathe. Four Seasons sword technique, continuous spring rain. With one slash, the water vapor in the sky condensed into raindrops. However, under the extreme cold, they turned into ice particles. They were like sniper bullets. Under Xia Ping's control, they attacked crazily. These ice particles had terrifying power. They could penetrate any rock, and even steel could not withstand them. Oh no! The nearby students could not help but cry out. If such an attack hit Niezhan, it would only take a second for his body to turn into a beehive. Damn it, bastard. You forced me to do this. Three-eyed wolf bloodline, third eye open. Niezhan roared. He was like an injured wolf king, forced into a desperate situation by the enemy. However, it was often at this moment that the Wolf King was the most dangerous and the most fatal. With a boom, the originally tightly shut third eye opened at this moment. Suddenly, endless golden light burst out, as if it contained an extremely mysterious power. Xiaoping could see that there seemed to be a nebula vortex in the third eye. It slowly rotated and had the aura of death. Once it opened, it could control the life and death of the enemy. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. When the third eye opened, Niezhen no longer had any emotions. He was like a robot, and his emotions had been completely blocked. Even his eyes had turned white, like the surface of a mirror. His figure flickered, and his feet shifted in a small area. Countless ice particles attacked him in midair, but they could not harm him at all. All of them passed through his phantom image. With a few bangs, these ice particles slashed into the distance. In an instant, they pierced through a rock that weighed hundreds of tons, turning the rock into a beehive. Even the icy aura that surged out froze these crushed rocks into tiny pieces of ice. Legend has it that once the third eye of the three-eyed wolf bloodline opens, one's strength and speed will greatly increase. One's dynamic vision will also become extremely terrifying. The movement of everything in the world will become extremely slow in the third eye, perhaps even tens of times slower. Xiaoping stared at Niezhen. However, this also has a fatal weakness. You won't be able to hold on for long. When the power of the bloodline was activated, the energy in one's body would be rapidly depleted. It was impossible to hold on for too long. It's enough to kill you. Niezhen was cold and emotionless. He punched out as fast as a gust of wind. The speed and power of this punch were several times stronger than before. The void trembled, and the fist force passed through the air, spreading rapidly inch by inch. Bam! Xiaoping didn't even have time to react. When Niezhen's fist hit him, he was sent flying backward, sliding along the ground for a full kilometer, leaving a huge crater in the ground. The terrifying fist force passed through his defensive energy art and tried to injure his internal organs, but was blocked by Dark North's defensive energy art. Chapter 416. Go to hell. Niezhen's eyes revealed an extremely cold aura. His punches were merciless, like a wolf king in the dark grassland. Every punch carried a fatal killing intent. With his third eye open, he could observe Xiaoping's every move. No matter which direction the sword chi attacked, he could see it clearly, no matter how big or small it was. Bang! Bang! In midair, Xiaoping and Niezhen fought like two peerless beasts fighting. Qi vibrated, and their speed was so fast that they looked like two shadows wrapped in airflow. Every collision caused a huge pit to appear in the ground. Soil flew everywhere, and the surrounding rocks were shattered into powder. The cracks stretched for several kilometers, and the ground shook. The entire grassland became the battlefield of the two of them. Terrifying airflow erupted in all directions, and anyone who dared to approach would be severely injured by the airflow. Too strong. The surrounding students were all extremely shocked. Even though they were in the same realm, they felt inferior when they saw the combat power of the two. The difference was too great. Regardless of whether it was physical strength, speed, comprehension of martial skills, or combat talent, they were all far inferior to him. It was impossible for them to reach his level. If they were in each other's shoes, they would probably be killed in an instant. As the battle between the two became more and more intense, the surroundings were filled with dust. Yellow sand rolled, and they could not see the battle clearly. They could only see two shadows colliding, and terrifying explosions erupted. Wolfang Fist, I, the unique and righteous. Niezhen's body surged with an extremely domineering aura, and a huge three-eyed wolf shadow seemed to appear behind him. The air was shaking, and the power of his true essence and bloodline boiled. He punched through the air, containing an incomparably domineering aura. He was like an unparalleled wolf king, ruling over thousands of wild wolves, exuding the domineering aura of a king. Countless fist forces gathered together and condensed into substance. This punch had the power to shatter mountains. Dong! Xiaoping also slashed out with his sword, and the tyrannical sword qi collided with it. However, it completely shattered his sword qi in an instant. The terrifying fist force penetrated in, and instantly blasted on his body. With a boom, his body flew backward. An extremely terrifying, penetrating force penetrated in, wanted to injure his lungs. However, when Dark North's protective techniques circulated, it was like a stream of water, constantly removing the fist force. It was as if it had been tempered thousands of times, constantly tempering his body. Bang, bang, bang. In the blink of an eye, the medicinal efficacy within Xia Ping's body was rapidly refined. Suddenly, a massive amount of true essence was produced, and it unexpectedly connected two of his secondary meridians. True essence flowed into him like a stream of water, constantly tempering his meridians and strengthening his body. Up until now, he had opened 4 meridians, and his strength had greatly increased. He could feel the dark red, true yuan surging in the depths of his dantian. It was boiling like lava and contained a terrifying power. Once it exploded, it would shake the heavens and the earth. Not bad. Xiaoping was in a good mood. The more he fought, the more he could stimulate his body's potential. If he continued like this, he might soon be able to clear all 12 meridians and reach the peak of the first heaven of the martial master realm. What? A cold light flashed in Yezhen's eyes. He felt that Wu Wudi's aura seemed to have become stronger. He was clearly at a disadvantage and was being suppressed by him, but he was still getting stronger. It was too strange. Even when his punches landed on Wu Wudi's body, his strength was constantly weakened by Wu Wudi's protective cultivation technique. He couldn't hurt Wu Wudi at all. Even though his third eye could see through Wu Wudi's every move, it was useless if he couldn't break through Wu Wudi's defense. Furthermore, the power of his bloodline could not last for too long. If he still couldn't break through Wu Wudi's defense, he was afraid that when the time came, he would become a turtle in a jar. Thinking of this, he wanted to retreat. Although he was incomparably arrogant, it did not mean that he was stupid. If he continued to fight a battle that he had no chance of winning, there would be no good outcome. It was better to retreat for now, think of a countermeasure later, and then come back. Trying to escape? You can't escape. Xiaoping immediately sensed Niezhen's actions. His body revealed a deep murderous aura, and his aura surged. At this stage of the battle, he would definitely not let Niezhen escape. Since they had become mortal enemies, there was only one outcome: kill. Can't escape? You're talking nonsense. You're just relying on a protective cultivation technique to barely stay alive. Why do you have to say such big words? Niezhen sneered. I admit that your third eye is very powerful. It can see through any movement of a warrior. Your dynamic vision is very strong, and you can capture any movement of a warrior. Xiaoping clenched his fists. However, being able to see it doesn't mean that you can react. He had originally wanted to use the 4 seasons swordsmanship to kill Niezhen, but now it seemed that it was impossible. What? As soon as he finished speaking, Niezhen instantly felt an extremely dangerous aura pass through Xiaoping's body. He saw that a pair of transparent wings seemed to have appeared on the back of the kid in front of him. Vaguely, there seemed to be dense, strange patterns appearing on his skin. The surrounding air seemed to be attracted to this kid, forming a huge vortex. It was as if he was the master of the airflow. Swoosh! In an instant, Xiaoping attacked like a rock. His speed instantly broke through the sound barrier, but under the control of the wings, there was no sound. It was as if he had merged with the air. Too fast. Niezhen felt very shocked. In his third eye, the movements of any warrior would be 10 times slower. In his eyes, everyone was as slow as a baby. This kind of ability made him invincible and invincible. But now he could clearly see his opponent's movements, but he found that in the blink of an eye, the opponent had appeared in front of him. His reaction speed could not keep up at all. Bang! Xiaoping's sword slashed down from the sky. Like a meteor crashing onto the ground, it ruthlessly slashed onto Niezhen's body. Like a flood breaking through a dam, Niezhen was sent flying. With a few bangs, Niezhen was smashed into the ground. In an instant, a huge crater with a diameter of tens of meters appeared. The ground shook, and more than a dozen terrifying cracks appeared. Dust billowed and filled the surroundings, forming a huge dust domain. No one could see the state of the battle between the two. With a sound, Niezhen could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. The sword just now had injured his internal organs. His blood and chi were in turmoil, and he had suffered an unprecedented injury. Die. Chapter 417. A sword slashed down from midair, and a tyrannical sword chi erupted. Niezhen endured the pain in his body and operated his quintessential essence. He suddenly jumped to the side, and like a wolf king, he instantly moved dozens of meters away. Dong! When the sword chi slammed into the ground, it created a 100-meter-long gash. Cracking sounds rang out as the 10 or so boulders in the distance were split in half, sending rubble flying everywhere. The killing intent contained in the sword chi was earth-shattering and contained a desolate aura. The weeds growing on the ground withered rapidly as their life force was taken away and turned yellow. Don't even think of running. Xiaoping attacked like lightning and did not show mercy. He waved the long sword in his hand, and countless sword chi slashed out, forming a large sword chi net that enveloped Niezhen's body in an instant. Damn it! Niezhen roared like an injured wolf king. He was filled with grief and indignation. He punched out crazily, and a tyrannical fist force exploded and bombarded the sword chi. But now that he was injured, his combat power had been reduced. Xiaoping's combat power was still at its peak, and was even increasing. How could his strength be a match for Yi Futian? With a few bangs, Niezhen could not withstand the explosion of the sword chi at all. His fist force was instantly torn apart, and his whole body was sent flying like a piece of straw. His body skidded across the ground for more than 100 meters before coming to a stop. His lungs were once again severely injured, and a large amount of blood stained his clothes. Even a few of his ribs were broken. Such intense pain spread throughout his body, making Niezhen feel unprecedented humiliation. We'll have to know what kind of person Niezhen was. He was the descendant of the dignified wolf king Niao Dao and had the blood of a king flowing in his veins. He was invincible in Ares College and was the future king. He was born to be the wolf king who stood above countless warriors. But now, he was being suppressed by someone who even wanted to kill him. How could he endure such humiliation? Die! Xiaoping leaped from afar. His wings flapped as he glided in the air. With a long sword in hand, he slashed down from the sky. A terrifying sword chi exploded and condensed into a solid form, wanting to give Niezhen a fatal blow. What? Suddenly, he felt an extremely dangerous aura erupt from Niezhen's body. He saw the kid suddenly take out a copper mirror. As the other party poured his true essence into it, the copper mirror began to tremble and emit an extremely terrifying aura. A terrifying golden light immediately shot out from the copper mirror at an extremely fast speed. At the same time, this golden light contained a terrifying energy that could pierce through everything. Xiaoping instinctively controlled his wings and used the Kunping steps to shift to the side. With a swoosh, the golden light swept past, tearing through the air and even burning it. He could feel the tyrannical power of this golden light. A mountain in the distance was immediately shot by the golden light, and the entire mountain was pierced. Huge rocks exploded on the spot, and some of the gravel was even turned into powder. This is a prized artifact. A cold glint flashed in Xiaoping's eyes. He immediately recognized the palm-sized copper mirror that Niezhen was carrying. It was a treasure and should be of the same grade as his moon-shooting bow. After coming to the Cloud Realm, he had not seen anyone else with a prized artifact. He did not expect to see such a treasure on Niezhen's body. Under the activation of the true essence, the power of this treasure seemed to be incomparably terrifying. It had the power to kill a martial master. Even though Xiaoping was very confident in his protective cultivation method, he did not dare to take the power of this copper mirror head-on. It's your honor to die under my golden light mirror. Die. Niezhen's expression was ferocious. Based on his arrogance, he would have disdained using external objects. However, now was not the time for him to continue being arrogant. If he did not kill this kid as soon as possible, it would be his turn to die when the kid's power was exhausted. Swoosh, swoosh, Swoosh! In an instant, he repeatedly activated the copper mirror, and rays of terrifying golden light shot towards Xiaoping. It seemed to form a web of death that wanted to completely tear Xiaoping's body into pieces. Xiaoping ran around the grassland, using the Kunping steps. He operated the true essence in his body and wandered around like a Kunping. Bang! 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 Rays of golden light shot out and immediately blasted a huge pit in the grassland. Hundreds of tons of soil flew out and smashed into the ground. Under the bombardment of the golden light, the soil was scorched by the terrifying friction and produced golden flames. This kind of power was extremely tyrannical. An ordinary martial master would not be able to withstand it at all. This was also why the Wolf King, Niao Dao, had placed this copper mirror on Nie Zhen for his safety. This was a great killing weapon that was not inferior to any super technological weapon. You think I don't have a prized artifact just because you have one? What a joke. Xiaoping instantly ran a kilometer away. He immediately took out the moon's shooting bow from his spatial ring and knocked an arrow. At this moment, he felt an unprecedented excitement from the moon's shooting bow. Silver inscriptions appeared on the bow's body and seemed to faintly resonate with the copper mirror. It was as if it was excited to meet its own kind. At the same time, Xiaoping infused his true essence and mental strength into the bow. He felt that the moon's shooting bow seemed to be different from before. It had unprecedented power. He followed the inscriptions and seemed to be able to sense the depths of the moon's shooting bow. Countless inscriptions intertwined as if there was a unique space in the depths of the bow that contained mysterious energy. Swoosh! Xiaoping instinctively drew the bow and released it in an instant. An arrow shot out like a silver ray of light that contained his mental will. Even though they were separated by a distance of 10 kilometers, he could still sense it clearly. When he was in the martial warrior realm, the moon's shooting bow could only be used for direct attacks. However, after advancing to the martial master realm, his mental strength seeped into the bow. It was like adding artificial navigation to the bow, an arrow. As long as he willed it, he could attack the enemy and turn it at will. He even felt that he did not need the bow and arrow. As long as he condensed his true essence and formed the bow and arrow chi, he could shoot the chi of the bow and arrow. Perhaps this was the true way to use the moon shooting bow. It did not need a bow and arrow. It used chi as an arrow. What? Nie Zhen was still feeling smug and wanted to use the golden light mirror to kill this damned Wu Wudi. However, he suddenly saw that his opponent had also taken out a treasured bow. The aura brewing on it was no weaker than his golden light mirror. Before he could figure out why this kid also had a treasured bow, a silver ray of light shot out. It made a random turn in the air, and its trajectory was impossible to track. Bang! In the next second, before he knew what was going on, the silver ray of light instantly pierced through his head, causing his entire body to explode. Chapter 418. It's too powerful. Xiaoping was incomparably shocked. If he used the moon shooting bow, he would probably be able to kill a third heaven martial master. No one would be able to block one arrow. Even a genius like Nie Zhen could not block it. His head had been blown off by one arrow, and he died without a complete corpse. However, this arrow had consumed too much quintessential essence. He felt that his body was slightly weak, and even his mental strength had been greatly depleted. This was because this arrow not only used quintessential essence, but it also consumed mental strength. It was a move that consumed a lot of energy. Although it has consumed a lot of energy now, it is only because my strength is too weak and my quintessential essence is too meager. If I advance to a higher realm and reach the Grandmaster realm, I will probably be able to use treasured weapons at will. Xiaoping clenched his fists tightly. Furthermore, through this battle, he had also discovered some of the mysteries of the moon shooting bow. There was actually no need for a bow or arrow. He could use it by condensing quintessential essence into the force of the bow and arrow. If he did this, its power would increase greatly. It was indeed an incomparably mystical treasure. That's right, this brat still has the treasured weapon, the golden light mirror. I can't waste it. Xiaoping immediately went forward and picked up the golden light mirror that Niezhen had left behind. At this moment, the golden light mirror had lost its master's control and was already dim and lifeless. It was no different from an ordinary mirror. If one had not seen the power it had just unleashed, it would be impossible to imagine that it was a treasure. However, from the mysterious inscriptions on the mirror frame, he could still feel a trace of the mysterious aura of this mirror. Xiaoping turned around and immediately sensed that the students in the distance seemed to want to approach. Currently, he had consumed most of the quintessential essence in his body. It was not suitable for him to continue fighting with these enemies. If he was surrounded, it would probably be a little troublesome. He immediately placed the mirror and the pills that Niezhen had left behind in his space ring. Then, he used the Kuan Peng steps and fled into the distance. In a few breaths, he had traveled several kilometers and disappeared into the horizon of this huge plain. At this moment, the students at the side heard Niezhen scream and were extremely anxious. They did not know what had happened, so they gritted their teeth and wanted to get closer to see what had happened. When they passed through the surrounding sand and dust, they finally arrived at the center of this area. They were shocked to see a headless corpse lying on the ground. The ground was stained with a large amount of blood. No way this is Big Brother Nye? A student trembled as he stared at the corpse on the ground. He could not believe his eyes. The famous Niezhen of Aries College was actually dead. That's impossible. That's definitely not Big Brother Nye. It shouldn't be that bastard Wu Wudi. Another student didn't believe it at all and retorted loudly. This is indeed Big Brother Nye. Don't you see the clothes he's wearing? Big Brother Nye wore this kind of clothes before. He's already dead, killed by Wu Wudi. A student at the side screamed crazily, mercilessly exposing this fact. Oh, that damned Wu Wudi. How dare he? How dare he kill Big Brother Nye? He's courting death. He's courting death. Who is Big Brother Nye? He's the grandson of Wolf King Nye Wudao. How dare he kill Big Brother Nye? There's no place for him in the entire Cloud Realm. No one can protect him. Inform Aries College and the Nye family immediately. Report this matter and kill Wu Wudi. How dare he commit murder in the Cloud Mountain Range? This bastard definitely can't escape. I must avenge Big Brother Nye and kill that bastard Wu Wudi. The group of students roared in a frenzy. Their anger had reached a boiling point, and their hearts were filled with fear. Niezhen was actually killed. They couldn't imagine how terrifying the Wolf King Nye Wudao's rage would be, and they would probably be implicated as well. They didn't know how much trouble it would cause. Therefore, all of them hated Wu Wudi so much that they even wanted to kill him. Soon, the news of Niezhen being killed by Wu Wudi spread throughout the central region. Countless students learned about it. This was like a heavy bomb that set off a huge wave. No way. Aries College's Niezhen is dead. He was killed by Wu Wudi. Even his head exploded. He died a horrible death. Wu Wudi is crazy. Does he know what kind of person Niezhen is? He's from a sovereign family and the grandson of Wolf King Nye Wudao. He actually dared to kill such a person. He must have a death wish. Once Wolf King Nye Wudao is enraged, he will massacre the city. No one can stop him. Lunatic Wu Wudi is a lunatic. We can't provoke him. He can even do such a thing. We can't chase after him anymore. He even dared to kill Niezhen. Who else wouldn't he dare to kill? This is too terrifying. Niezhen has the three-eyed wolf bloodline and many trump cards. If he can still kill him, how strong is Wu Wudi? Many students were shocked. They were completely stunned by the news. They couldn't believe that the so-called invincible Niezhen had been killed and his head exploded. Some students who had wanted to chase after Wu Wudi and snatch the life elixir from him all retreated. They didn't dare to chase after Wu Wudi anymore. After all, even a genius like Niezhen had died at Wu Wudi's hands. Even if they tried to chase after him, they would only be sending themselves to their deaths. Wu Wudi. Cho Wanxian from the Black and White Academy clenched his fists, and a cold glint flashed in his eyes. He knew how terrifying Niezhen was. Once he opened his third eye, he would be invincible. He even had a treasure as a trump card. Unless a tyrannical demon appeared, it was basically impossible to kill him. Even Cho Wanxian didn't have this ability. But now, Niezhen had been killed, and he couldn't even escape. This was a little scary. It could only be said that Wu Wudi's threat was beyond his imagination. What a pity. He actually killed Niezhen. How stupid. Cho Wanxian shook his head. He knew that Wu Wudi was hopeless. He had already killed Niezhen, so one could imagine what the Nie family would think. They would definitely be furious, and when that happened, Wu Wudi wouldn't be able to run. He actually killed Niezhen. Good lad. Chong Bin from the Celestial Divine Academy also heard the news. He couldn't help but clench his fists. He had been sent flying by Wu Wudi with a single move. This was the greatest humiliation of his life. When had he ever been sent flying like an ant? As someone with the Fire Lion bloodline, this was intolerable. He had to take revenge. Otherwise, his Chong clan's face would be completely thrown away by him. I have to find him in advance and kill him. Otherwise, if the Nie family finds out, I won't be able to take revenge for the rest of my life. Chong Bin clenched his fists, and a terrifying flame appeared in his eyes. His golden hair flew up, and he looked like a lion. Chapter 419. In a cave somewhere in the Cloud and Mist Mountain Range. At this time, Xiaoping had left the central area and was hiding in a cave somewhere on the outskirts of the Cloud and Mist Mountain Range. At this time, he had eliminated the aura on his body and changed his appearance. It was estimated that no one would be able to find him in a short time. Dee. At this time, the system's voice sounded. Congratulations to the host for angering the heaven-devouring demon Venerable and gaining 5 million hatred points. Aroused the hatred of all students and gained 500,000 hatred points. After a few prompts, Xiaoping immediately found that he had gained 5 million hatred points this time. In addition to the previous ones, he had a total of more than 6 million hatred points, which was a huge sum of money. However, he did not expect that angering the heaven-devouring demon Venerable would get so much hatred points. One must know that the heaven-devouring demon Venerable did not have an endless hatred towards him. It was just disgust, and there was no killing intent. However, it gave birth to 5 million hatred points. One can imagine how terrifying the heaven-devouring demon Venerable was. It was estimated that even the king-level powerhouses were not as good as him. However, he also felt that he was extremely lucky to have met a sealed demon Venerable. If it was a living and kicking demon Venerable, daring to anger the other party would be purely courting death. However, the system prompt did not end there, and continued. The hatred points have reached 1 million. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the system gift pack. Big gift pack? What is it? Xiaoping's heart moved, and he immediately asked. He always remembered that when the hatred points reached 1 million, the system would provide a big gift pack. He had always been looking forward to it. The big gift pack has arrived. Does the host accept the inheritance? If the host accepts, then he will receive a Hell Golden Crow bloodline. The system replied. Hell Golden Crow bloodline? What is this? Xiaoping blinked his eyes. He had heard that the Golden Crow was a divine beast, the sun in the sky, and had the supreme bloodline. However, he was not very clear about what kind of divine beast the Hell Golden Crow was. The system said, legend has it that there are 10 suns in the sky. Each sun is a Golden Crow divine bird, but the 10 suns rose at the same time, causing the earth to dry up, the rivers to dry up, and the people to live in misery. There was an ancient god who was furious and used his magical power to shoot down the 9 suns. As a result, the souls of these 9 golden crows fell into the endless 9 hells. They were unwilling to die and had great resentment. As a result, the 9 suns merged into one and became the golden crows of hell. It was born from endless resentment and grew by absorbing the aura of the 9 hells. It itself contained the power of the sun, which was extremely young. Thus, it possessed the mighty power to suppress countless fiend gods in hell. It traversed the heavens and became the lord of fiend gods in hell. If the golden crow is the sun of the human world, then the golden crow of hell is the sun of hell, spanning across the 9 hells of hell and the 6 paths of reincarnation. Because it is formed from the fusion of 9 suns, the power of the infernal golden crow is countless times more terrifying. Once it is born, it will possess world-destroying might. This kind of bloodline cannot be allowed to exist in the world and will suffer the wrath of the heavens. Xiaoping was very moved. This bloodline was definitely an incredible treasure. He didn't know how much hatred it was worth. He didn't expect it to be given as a big gift by the system. It was really unimaginable. It must be known that the three-eyed wolf bloodline, once activated, has dozens of times more combat power than ordinary people. This is the benefit of the king's bloodline. It can have all kinds of martial arts, supernatural powers, and suppress many martial arts experts. If he also inherited the infernal Golden Crow bloodline, it would definitely increase his combat power and become more powerful. He felt that the system seemed to be promoting his growth step by step. Whenever he reached a certain level, he would be given all kinds of powerful treasures to speed up his cultivation. What will happen if I inherit it now? Xiaoping asked. The system said, the host will sleep for 7 days and 7 nights until the body is completely transformed. Can I merge it later? Xiaoping was a little helpless. After all, there were still a few days before the cloud and Mist Mountain Range would close. He couldn't sleep for 7 days and 7 nights at this time. If he was locked in the cloud and Mist Mountain Range, he would be finished. Yes, the system said. Xiaoping nodded. By the way, help me exchange for the 3rd level of the 7 Arrows technique and the Dark North Body Protection technique. He has been promoted to the Martial Master realm and is qualified to practice the 3rd level of these 2 divine skills. Okay, each skill costs 500,000 hate points, a total of 1 million. The system said it deducted 1 million hate points from Xiaoping at once. And now he only has more than 5 million hate points left. Crash. At this time, the system immediately instilled in about the Dark North Body Protection technique and the 3rd level of the 7 Arrows technique. A large number of graphic information immediately poured into Xiaoping's mind. So this is the 3rd level of the Dark North Body Protection technique. Xiaoping suddenly realized that he felt that his Dark North Body Protection technique had now entered the 3rd level, and his Qigong vibrated and immediately formed a transparent protective shield. The ability of the 2nd level of the Dark North Body Protection technique is to rebound, but once it is activated, the Qi shield will cover every corner of his body, so that his body has no blind spots. But there is also a drawback. Although it is evenly defended in every corner of the body, if the enemy concentrates on a certain point of power, they can break through Xiaoping's defense and will still be hurt. But when you reach the 3rd level of the Dark North Body Protection technique, you can move your mind at will. As long as you move your mind and integrate your spiritual force into your Qigong, you can increase the power of the Qigong defense to a certain part and enhance it locally. This is a huge leap, which is the performance of slowly mastering this technique with a taste of running freely. The 3rd level of the 7 Arrows technique. Xiaoping's eyes showed a cold light. He grabbed a stone in his hand and smashed it out in an instant. Immediately, the stone was winding in the air like a snake. With a bang, the stone penetrated the mountain wall and penetrated dozens of meters with amazing destructive power. Spiritual force control. Xiaoping was very surprised. This is the mystery of the 3rd level of the 7 Arrows technique. A trace of spiritual force is engraved on the hidden weapon. Even if it is 4 or 5 kilometers away, it can be accurately controlled. If he used the hidden weapon all over the sky before, it could only attack objects that did not move. If the other party dodged, it could be easily avoided. There were flaws. But at the 3rd level, even if the enemy dodged as long as he moved his mind, he could change the trajectory of the hidden weapon, chase the enemy, and completely kill him. The power of such hidden weapons is increased several times. It can be said that such a tyrannical technique is like controlling a treasure with infinite power. Concentrate on cultivation. Xiaoping clenched his fists and got the 3rd level of the mental cultivation method of the 2 techniques. Although he got the system, he did not practice hard and thoroughly integrated the 2 techniques into the body. He could not control them freely. Chapter 420. Bang! In a cave in the Cloud Mist Mountain Range, a figure broke out of the cave. The surrounding rocks cracked, and a terrifying aura of a ferocious beast filled the air, shaking the forest. This person is Xiaoping. After 3 days and 3 nights of cultivation, he finally completely mastered the head-piercing 7 arrows technique and the 3rd level of the dark north body protection technique, which also greatly increased his strength. Even after taking the many pills obtained from Nie Zhen and the others, he has opened 4 meridians in succession. Now he has opened a total of 8 meridians. He still needs to open 4 meridians before he can reach the peak of the first heaven of Martial Master. Boom! Xiaoping punched through the air and smashed toward the small mountain in the distance. The fist force vibrated and instantly pierced through the small mountain, creating a big hole. He stomped hard, and with a boom, his whole body jumped into the air, jumping 100 meters high. 3 or 4 terrifying cracks immediately appeared on the ground, and the earth trembled. These cracks stretched for 2 or 3 kilometers, and even a small mountain in the distance was about to split open. Now, Xiaoping has the power to smash a ferocious beast into minced meat. A casual punch has the strength of hundreds of thousands of kilograms. It can be said that he himself is a ferocious beast. Moreover, his mental power had also covered a kilometer. Everything within a kilometer radius was under his mental power's perception. Not even the slightest bit of movement could hide from him. Even if it is a 3rd heaven of Martial Master, he can probably match it now. With a bang, Xiaoping fell to the ground and immediately smashed out a deep pit with a diameter of tens of meters. People within a few kilometers can hear this terrifying vibration. There seems to be the smell of spiritual medicine. Xiaoping's nose twitched slightly. He can feel a trace of the smell of spiritual medicine coming from a few kilometers away. Although the water of life in the Cloud Mist Mountain Range is the most precious, it does not mean that there are no other treasures that can compare to the water of life, such as some precious spiritual medicine. If used properly, the value of those spiritual medicine is no less than the water of life. Because of this, even if many students know that they can't get the water of life, they still hope to stay in the Cloud Mist Mountain Range and find all kinds of treasures. After all, this is a rare opportunity. There are not many places like this where they can pick spiritual medicine at will. All such spiritual lands are either occupied by ferocious beasts or become the territory of mighty figures. Ordinary martial artists have no chance at all. Whoosh! Xiaoping's silhouette flickered as he executed the Kuan Peng steps, manipulating the air currents and gliding rapidly. In just a few breaths of time, he arrived at a lake and saw a silver lotus growing at the edge of the lake. This lotus swayed in the water, emitting a faint silver light. The air was also filled with an enchanting medicinal fragrance, causing people to become restless. No matter how one looked at it, this was a precious spirit medicine. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At the same time, dozens of students ran over from afar. They seemed to have been attracted by the fragrance as well. They were extremely fast and arrived at the lake one after another. The fragrance of spiritual herbs and the appearance of treasures. There are indeed spiritual herbs here. Great, my God, if I'm not mistaken, this is the 100-year moon heart lotus. We're rich. It's said that this kind of spirit herb is born from the yin energy of heaven and earth and absorbs the essence of the moon. It takes 100 years for it to completely take shape. Its medicinal power is extremely strong and rare in the world. Although this kind of 100-year moon heart lotus is a little inferior to the water of life, it can still be considered a precious treasure. We've been working hard in the Cloud Mountain Range for so long. It's time for us to obtain the treasure. Many students were discussing spiritedly. Their faces were filled with excitement as they looked at the moon heart lotus at the edge of the lake with fiery eyes. There were immediately people who wanted to take action and pick this moon heart lotus. Junior Sue, I feel that this moon heart lotus is very suitable for you. Why don't I pick it and give it to you? The person who spoke was Mu Haoran. He revealed a generous look. However, those with discerning eyes could see that this kid wanted to pursue Su Ji. However, not only Mu Haoran, the group of guys around him also looked at Su Ji with fiery eyes because Su Ji's charm was really too moving. Wearing a white dress, her figure was exquisite Her pair of big eyes seemed to be able to speak, and her body emitted an otherworldly aura, like a fairy. It was estimated that not many people could resist her charm. At this moment, she had already advanced to the ninth heaven of martial disciple realm. The bloodline in her body seemed to have been further developed and already had a trace of the embryonic form of a beauty that could bring disaster to a country. Once she advanced to the martial master realm and activated the demon fox bloodline, she would really be a beauty that could cause the downfall of a city. She could casually wave her finger and charm a group of people, regardless of gender or age. Senior Mu, this isn't too good. The Moonheart Lotus is a treasure that everyone found together. It should be shared with everyone. Suji rolled her eyes and revealed a trace of craftiness. In the air, there seemed to be an unknown ripple that swept in all directions. It contained a strange power that seeped into the hearts of the students present, making it impossible for them to detect it. No. Other than Junior Su, no one else has the qualifications to possess this kind of 100-year Moonheart Lotus. As the saying goes, a treasured sword should be given to a hero, and a beautiful woman should be given to a beautiful woman. Don't you guys agree? Mu Howard cried out. He was immediately bewitched by it. Yes. The 100-year Moonheart Lotus belongs to Junior Mu. I will fight with whoever dares to snatch it from her. We have plenty of treasures. The 100-year Moonheart Lotus is nothing. Don't be so polite with me. If you continue to be so polite, we will fight with you. The group of students' faces turned red as if they were injected with chicken blood. They shouted loudly and wished that they could immediately jump into a sea of fire for Suji. Junior Su, don't be anxious. I will help you pick the 100-year Moonheart Lotus. A few students shouted. They were the ones who took action. After saying that, they wanted to walk towards the lake. However, Xiaoping stood out and blocked in front of these students. There's someone here? At this time, the group of students noticed that someone had already arrived at the lake. They were immediately shocked. It can't be. Isn't that guy Xiaoping? Why is he here? Someone immediately recognized the person who appeared in front of them. It was the famous Xiaoping. After all, this guy was an influential person in Yanwang University. They would recognize him even if he turned into ashes. Holy crap! Why did the Scourge Xiaoping appear here? After entering the Cloud Mist Mountain Range, this guy disappeared. He didn't cause any trouble. I thought he was dead. How could he be dead? Good people don't live long, but scourges live for 1,000 years. How could this guy die so easily? It's good that he didn't die. It's time for us to take our revenge. Outside, we are still Martial Ninth Layer. Now all of us have advanced to Martial Master. Our strength is more than 10 times stronger. This time, we must beat the shit out of this guy. The heavens have eyes. They gave us the chance to meet this damned Scourge Xiaoping. He deserves our revenge. If this isn't retribution, then what is it? Even the heavens want to deal with him. When Mu Haoran and the others saw Xiaoping appear, they all seemed to be injected with chicken blood. They even completely ignored Su Ji's charm. They clenched their teeth and stared at Xiaoping, wishing they could tear him into pieces. Su Ji's face was filled with hatred. She clenched her teeth in anger. All her efforts were wasted. If she continued, the 100-year Moonheart Lotus would definitely be hers. Now it was blocked.